Good morning, everyone. Since we have all settled down, today I, Janatul Feather Sharna, will be the Master of Ceremony, and we are really great and delighted to have all of you here today. So we are hosting a roundtable on power of women, from the uprising to greater political participation. This discussion has been organized by the Dhaka Tribune with the support of the Royal Norwegian Embassy in Dhaka. Firstly, we would like to express our gratitude to all the participants that have come today during this holy month of Ramadan. And to our special guests are Dr. Raunak Jahan, Distinguished Fellow at the Center for Policy Dialogue, CPD. Then we have Håkon Harald Gulbrandsen, Ambassador of the Royal Norwegian Embassy in Dhaka. Last but not the least, we have Marianne Rabba Nijvelsrad, Deputy Head of Mission of the Royal Norwegian Embassy in Dhaka. Also for today's discussion, we have gathered a number of contemporary voices, including student activists, journalists, politicians, academics, diplomats, and social opinion leaders. Isha Arora, business editor of Dhaka Tribune, will moderate today's discussion. Some part of today's discussion will be in English and few others might be in Bangla. So we have arranged an interpretation diff service and provided headphones receiving devices for your convenience. We are really looking forward to an engaging conversation that will be insight and impactful for all of us. Thank you. At the starting, we would request our special guest, Mr. Håkon Harald Gulbrandsen, Ambassador of the Royal Norwegian Embassy in Dhaka, to begin the discussion with an opening speech. After that, our moderator will have the floor to continue the discussion. So I would request our special guest, Håkon Harald Gulbrandsen, to start the opening speech.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. It's so nice to see all of you here, and have already had some very interesting discussion with many of you about the challenges and the, of course, great possibilities that you are standing in front of now. And it's not a coincidence why we gather here today. Yesterday was the International Women's Day, and we are celebrating and marking that with this round table. And but it's not only one day. We should focus on gender equality in society, either in Norway or in Bangladesh. Should be every day, but we start here now, and I'm really looking forward to the discussions. One of the things we saw in the during the uprising in the July or August 2024 was that there was the women's position was crucial. They were leaders during the uprising, and they were absolutely key to what happened. And it might be that the momentum for women participation has waned a bit during the latest month, but it seems to be coming back again now, and it's momentum for women's participation and leadership, I think, in the time we start and go into now, and facing soon parliamentarian election. Anyway, the uprising marked a manifestation of Bangladesh's people's desire for freedom, democracy, and justice. And to make these kind of meaningful changes in society, you need both genders to participate. You can't have real changes without both men and females participating. And I think the uprising shows that is not the case that Bangladesh is a backward country when it comes to the power of women. But however, we have to realize that there are much work that remains, and to get an equal society between genders. And political participation is key, because that's where most of the formal power in society lies. So therefore, female political participation is key to get changes. There are quite low grade or level of female representation in both parliament and or former parliament and on local level, and in particular when it comes to seats that are competing, it's few seats that women have gained here traditionally. But the hope is that that will be changed now in the aftermath of the uprising, that we can see a brighter future on the horizon when it comes to that. I come from a country where we have almost equal representation in politics. Approximately almost 50-50 female and male are represented in the parliament. In our cabinet, it's 50-50. Men and female, and on local level is a bit under 50-50, but it's at least quite equal. And that doesn't come automatically. That is something you have to work on every day, and to hinder that it will be backsliding. And I think one of the key things that has been done up through the years is the political parties' internal regulations, saying that every second person should either be a male or a female on the nomination lists for the political parties. We see that without this regulation, political parties easily start to discriminate against women and put men on top of the ballots. So it's important to hinder discrimination, to have rules that actually state that every second on a list should be either a female or a male. That's our experience. We hope that we will have good discussions today regarding political representation. I'm so happy to see so many distinguished participants and around the table. And I would also like to thank Dr. Ronak Jahan, a veteran and a very esteemed personality when it comes to, among others, these issues, to be here today. So thank you again. And yeah, and I just say let us have a good discussion, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We're starting off just by kind of being slightly more informal so that we can have a constructive discussion on what hinders and impediments women on their way to a political career and constructive solutions to that. So my first question is to Dr. Ronak Jahan, is about what are the challenges and what do you think could be some of the solutions for women's political participation in Bangladesh?
Thank you, Isha. Let me first also say that I would like to thank both Dhaka Tribune and the Norwegian Embassy for inviting me today. Both Dhaka Tribune and the Norwegian Embassy have been long-standing champions in women's equal rights and women's empowerment. So I'm very glad to be here today. Before I get to your question about the challenges, and how to overcome. I want to make one or two other observations, if I may. You can always stop me if I'm speaking over my limit. First, I think I want to make one observation about the July uprising and women's participation there. I think it is not that the women in Bangladesh have not participated in any other movement before, because even in 52, then in the 60s, in the liberation war, women have participated. In fact, the norm have always been here. If you look at the old photographs, that even in 52, when they were breaking the Section 144, it is the women who would go first. So that, but I think what surprised people is the massive number of women who really participated. So the numbers itself, then also it is just not the students, but also ordinary housewives and others, and not only in Dhaka, but all over the country. So I think that that sort of was one of the things that struck people. What makes me hopeful, because I think the ambassador has mentioned about the momentum and then maybe it is waning. Movement politics always sort of attracts particularly women. A lot of women participate because it is very issue-based, women are interested, and also it is temporary engagement. But I think the main problems arise for women when it is long-standing engagement, and also it may not be issue-based, but getting into power, and you really have to be, see, there are other impediments I'll talk about. But what makes me hopeful is that this is the first time I find that when immediately after, I mean, the last 6 months, there had been some attempts to push women back, and also all these controversies about women's dress and other behavior pattern. But what makes me hopeful is that this time, immediately, women are pushing back also. They are speaking up. And women, for the first time I find, they are all saying that July daughters, we want our share, amader hissa. This language itself, I think in all other movements, women went back when they were pushed back, and they never came forward and said, we want our share. So I find this to be very interesting, and for the first time that they are doing that. And also they, on all this moral policing and all of these attempts, then women have pushed back. So this, I think that this immediate pushback, demanding your rights all the time, I find that this is different, and that makes me hopeful. Now, I will get into some of the other issues that I have, but to come back immediately to your question about all the challenges and the strategies that we have. I think the first sort of major challenge, and we all know about, is there's women's participation in electoral politics and party politics, because that is how generally we look at women's representation. And there, I think, major challenge, we have talked about this, is money and muscle power, which in Bangladeshi context, I think that is a very determining factor. And how do we overcome that? In other countries, and the ambassador has mentioned the Norwegian and the Nordic experience, there had been electoral reforms, for instance. We all know that the first past the post electoral system that we have in Bangladesh, that also we have in the US or in UK, it is very difficult for women. And if you have a proportional representation, PR system, then it is much in countries where you have PR system, there women can move up faster. But Bangladesh, I think, citizens don't know much about the PR system, parties. So we need, I think, a lot more time probably for a much more of a wider campaign before we can move into. The system that the Norwegians have, Swedish also have, is the zipper system. which is, also very, I think, much more preferable because it goes 1 and 2. And then I think Nordics and also Spain has this 60-40, that you would not have, each gender has a quota, no gender would be less than 40 over 60. So, there are all these various systems, various reforms that, then there is the party quota, which is always preferable than the electoral quota. But I think in Bangladesh, just because somebody else in the West or somebody else in Africa or Latin America has adopted a reform and that works better, I think we need to have much more discussion as to, given our history, what would be best. Because in Nepal, yes, they have moved up women's representation, but a lot of these women are proxy women, so there had been some. So anyway, that's one. Another, I think, the major challenge is for women is getting entry into politics. And because many men can get entry into politics. To get entry into politics, you need some mentors. Yeah, and you have to spend time as an apprentice. You need a baro bhai or somebody. It's much easier for men to adopt a baro bhai. In a gender-segregated system, for a woman, a young woman, to adopt a baro bhai is problematic. There would be all kinds of questions about sexual harassment and also other issues. So I think in that, one of the ways, and I think that would be debatable, is an easier entry point for women is for dynastic inheritance. That if you come from a political family or if you have then it is much easier to get entry. It's not that entry itself is sufficient. I think many women can get into politics, but then you have to stay, because to stay you have to show your capabilities. But I think then this is discriminatory against women who don't have any dynastic inheritance. But I think this is something that in South Asia particularly, most of the women who are in politics, they entered via dynastic route, mainly I think because of the strong gender segregation and all of these other problems related to violence against women. And then I think the main problem that we are now talking about these days, challenge is violence against women. I think this is why, if you want to be active in politics, you have to just show up. You have to be there late at night. Then, as I said, you have to work side by side with young men, young girls, students. So if there is always problems about violence, about sexual harassment, then how do we go? I think this needs to be challenged. Again, I find, because as the ambassador said, I am a veteran, so I remember the 70s and what happens now. I remember my first article in 73, when I even wrote that thousands of women were raped during 71 war. Many people came to me and said that, Appa, why did you use this word rape? It has sort of, you shouldn't have used that word. So that now I find that in newspapers, and actually it was a journalist who came and told me that young girls now have the courage, newspapers, everybody is saying, no, we stand up against rape. I think the first thing is to break these barriers of speaking up. And so I think that is happening, but all over the world, globally, violence against women is rising. And so, I don't want to think that we can overcome this very quickly. Another strategy, and I will end there, is for really the collective voice of women is very important. And making it very clear that these are women's issues, women's agenda, prioritizing this. I think this we have been debating, that it is women who get more concerned about gender-based violence because it is women's issue. But how do you prioritize it as opposed to price hike, for instance? So that even when you list and if you have a survey, then so that until and unless you have that as a priority issue, and then also in many of the Western countries what had worked is a women's vote, for instance, around pro-choice issues or abortion. Then across party line, that would be a women's vote, and you can. But in Bangladesh, I've seen this even in parliament, one could not even move forward with bipartisan women's caucus. So I think that that's another challenge. Younger women these days, I think the battle for women's rights are still being fought by many of the so-called veterans and women's organizations. Younger women are not really all that interested in joining women's organizations. So, but if they are not interested in joining women's organizations, then they should still figure out how they can create alliances on women's issues and come together and stay together. Because having one organization, I think that collective voice for women and younger women not getting interested in women's organization, I find that is another challenge that you have to face in the future. But as I said before, I'm very hopeful that I find that young women are now speaking up and pushing back, and I think that is a start. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rona Kappa. So given what she had just talked about, for women to be in politics, in a political party, you either need to be from a dynastic family or you need to be patronized by somebody. So I would like to segue into Shamapa a little bit. How do you feel about how entering politics, being a woman, especially when they will judge you for everything, you know?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Dhaka Tribune and the Norwegian Embassy for organizing this event. I was just listening to Rona Kappa and all the dignitaries here. It's just, first of all, I would like to say that women being the majority population of our country, and I think more than the men population, the women issues are not addressed well enough. When you start addressing issues regarding women in the society, in politics, in the corporate world, and no matter where it is, then you start actually solving the real problems of the country. And people don't really realize that all the time. So I was listening to our distinguished speaker, and she was talking about dynastic politics. Yeah, you may say that I'm a product of legacy politics, or I came from a political family. But there are, I think I can see a few other faces here who are also politicians and also came from a political background. But I would like to say that although it is a very common phenomena to come, for women to, first come from a political background, not only in our country but also in our region. But also you have to realize that we also open the doors for other women to come in, and to politics is not an easy place to be, for men or for women. For here to stay and to prove your ability, that you are here to stay, you can fight for your right, and sometimes, many of the times, you are fighting with your own people, but still you keep fighting, and that needs resilience, that needs conviction, that needs dedication to your work and what you stand for. So I personally would like to believe that women now are getting more interested in politics or in social causes in general, which is good. Because before, like in lot of the time, women could not speak up. Women could not talk. Women could not express their views because of the partisan politics that we have in our country. Unfortunately, every sector is divided. The divisional politics we have, although we have seen in our own eyes in last 16, 17 years, or even more so, that whichever if there is a rape case, if there is some injustice done to a particular female, if that female belongs to a particular political ideology or political party, the other parties do not speak up, the women from and that is not right. That's where I agree with our speaker when you say that collective voice is important, because it doesn't matter which political party you belong to, it doesn't matter which ideology you belong to. If crime is a crime, if crime is happening to a woman, every woman should speak up. So we have seen in the past that lot of the media personalities who are women, lot of the media people who actually sided with one particular political party did not speak up when crime and injustice were happening to the opposition women. We have seen women getting beaten up on the street. We have seen women getting thrown to jail without any, and they were treated very badly, poorly, where human rights was getting violated every single day, and nobody spoke up. So although we actually take pride in saying that, okay, we had in our political history, we had women prime minister for so many years and women opposition for so many years. We had so many ministers who were female in the parliament, but even so, then the rights of the women were never addressed properly. And another thing is, I think when you talk about 71 or before the language movement, I think at that time in the Dhaka University, or that was the hub of all the political activities. I think women at that time were even much safer than women now, because at that time that segregation was not there. Although it's strange, but they were treated equally as political workers. A male political worker or a female political worker were somewhat treated equally. But now, although even like I'm an organizing secretary, I go to villages. From my own personal experience, I can tell you, there's so many women who are working in Upajila level, in district level, and they are participating in vice chairman election, in Upajila elections, and they're so resilient. And I think, for me personally, they are my role model. Then I learn from them more than I learn from anybody else, any other women. Personally, to me, I learned from a garment worker, a female garment worker who goes to work every single day and works the whole day and comes back home and cooks for the family, and then again in next morning they go. I learned from that garment worker. So that person is my idol, you could say. So women in general in Bangladesh, they are, I think, coming up in politics. But although I belong to a political party, but I would like to say the political parties have to also have a change in their mindset. Unless you have a change, unless you consciously make some policy decisions, okay, we need to have this percentage of women in every committees, we need to have this percentage of women in every work that we do, then it becomes very hard for any woman not having a legacy to come and join politics. Another thing is that I personally support women participating directly in parliament election or any local elections, and I endorse that. But again, political parties have to be consciously making that effort. It's not only money and muscle. You can fight with money and muscle if your party or if your seniors are supporting you. If they are telling you, okay, you have that constituency, go work there, that is your constituency, make it happen. If you have that kind of support from your political party or the seniors, then I think slowly but steadily it will come about, because we need to have more women participation in politics. And no matter, I mean, personally, whenever girls or student leaders who come up to me, and I always tell them that you guys have to join in active politics. Otherwise, unless more women are in politics, politics would not be clean and politics would not be better. I would like to remember, in my speech, I would also like to remember the girls that have fought, in last year in July-August movement. We have seen a lot of girls who were on the streets, and I think that's what gave us hope that more women are getting active, more women are getting conscious about what's happening around them. So I feel I am very positive that in the future, we have gone through a lot. In Bangladesh has gone through a lot. Me as a politician, I have, as a female politician, it's not an easy thing. It's not always easy, but we keep on fighting. But this is what I chose. Now nobody has forced me to do that. But I would like to say that we as women, we should also collectively promote women participation in politics in general, and the political parties should provide all kind of facilities, and another barrier I feel is the social media, sometimes the media in general, because we see that negative news or derogatory news are always get more likes, more shares, get more viral. And it's easier to degrade a woman. That's the easiest thing you can do, is character assassination of a woman. And that's the easiest thing you can do to any woman, not only in politics, in any sector of the country. So we should, the men should also, men and women regardless, everyone should work on that and make sure that doesn't affect women participating in social causes and politics in general. So that's so far for now, and maybe
Thank
later
you.
if I can answer any question.
No,
Thank you.
We're just going around kind of asking how people think about women in politics. One of the things also is women in the workplace. And I'm only asking this to Silvana because she has to leave. So from your perspective, having built a company, how have you kind of like come to realize all the kind of hurdles that we always hear about, and people are like, oh, it's hard, don't do it. But how hard is it really?
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to the Norwegian Embassy and to Dhaka Tribune for convening this event, and also for including men at the table. I think we're absolutely not going to achieve progress unless we have male partners in this mission. I would say that the journey of building my company has made me prioritize as a mission in my life to help women achieve economic power. I realize that this roundtable is focused on political power, but for me, I would really like to see women achieve more economic independence. I would like to see women build our wealth. And I believe that is a clear path to another path to political power. If we can achieve that, we'll no longer need the Boro Bhai to endorse us, right? I think that's a major, major challenge that we face. I'll just give one example. Prava is one of the few startups that has a debt facility with one of the local banks here in Dhaka. And the only reason that we do is I have personally collateralized that loan. I have personally collateralized that loan. I've provided a personal guarantee for that loan. I was also requested for my father to co-sign because I'm a single woman and I can't be trusted. So these things have to change, you know. I mean, there was so much talk in a couple of years ago when the Barbie movie came out, right, about how Barbie owned property before women in America could own bank accounts. That problem still exists in most of the world, that women cannot own bank accounts without a man co-signing for her. And I think these are some of the basic systemic issues we need to address. I come from a privileged background. I have a father who was willing to co-sign for me, who supports me fully. Not every woman has that privilege. And so, and not only, every woman should need that privilege, right? Banks should be giving loans to women who deserve them and who are building businesses that make sense. So I guess my perspective is one of really focused on the point of economic empowerment, and really, as an employer, ensuring that we're focused on gender parity within the organization. It's very challenging. Employees themselves don't always ask to be paid as much as their male counterparts. I experienced that in the early days. I observed it within my management. One of my management team members, who was a woman, was earning 30% less than her counterparts in the market and asking for that. And I just upped her when I found out that that was the case. And I think that's our responsibility as employers. Exactly. So I think there are many levels of this challenge, but I think these types of conversations are critical to help us to move the dialogue forward. But I'd really challenge the power brokers in this audience to help us to fix some of these systemic issues that we have at the basic levels in the banking channel, but also as employers, really empowering the females who work for us. And I'm very proud to say, Prava, 50% of our C-suite is women, something that I never thought I could have achieved, but I think having female leadership ends up attracting more female leaders. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very interesting and very potent point. Economic freedom is political freedom for a lot of people. That's the first thing. You need to be financially independent to be able to make decisions. And many places in this, many women in this country are bound by this. And we're also legally bound by this in many ways. We're sadly still second-class citizens legally as women in Bangladesh. To get to that, Ruminappa, you have vast knowledge about this. Could you please elaborate?
Thank you. Before I focusing on today's point, women in politics, I think we should remember about the girl who has been raped a few days back, who was only 8 years old. So this is the situation, this is the scenario from where we begin. Being a woman is not an easy thing, honestly speaking. You will be judged in every second. You will be judged for your look, your attire, your attitude, your everything. I mean, you will be judged in every single second. And since politics is for men, it's a men's world, and politics is, thing to be the domain of men only. So it's not very easy for a woman to be there and to fight with their counterpart. And being a woman in politics, what I strongly believe, that first of all, you have to fight with yourself. Shall I be able to survive? Shall I be able to counter the male part of the society? And secondly, your family, your society, they will not allow you. They will not, accept you when you are in a in a field where it's challenging in every single second. So I think the scenario is getting changed every day, but it's not very positive yet. So it's a dilemma. I mean, who wants to be in the politics? Maybe it's because he or she is from a political background. Yeah, that helps him or her a little bit, but not 100%, obviously. You have to be bold. You have to be confident. You have to be courageous. You have to be someone who is ready to accept the challenges. So it is not at all an easy task. Secondly, the society thinks that the primary responsibility of a woman is to take care of a family, is to take care of the children and husband. So this is another barrier that prevents women or puts a bar on her way if she wants to be in politics, because politics is not a 9-to-5 job, unfortunately. You can, maybe at 12 a.m. in the morning, I mean midnight, you get a call and you have to be there. So it's not a 9-to-5 job. So most of the families in our society, they don't want their girls or their, female counterpart to be there in politics. And thirdly, our political parties, they are not at all women friendly, unfortunately. Neither of the parties, none of the parties. So it is very difficult for a woman to make a space there. And another problem in Bangladesh is 50 reserved seats. Though I was a member of parliament from that reserve seat, but I have to say that it is a bar. It is a bar because it gives your party some sort of, let her go for a reserve seat. We don't need to give her nomination. It gives some sort of comfort. And at the same time, your male counterpart will think and will say, Appa, you will go for reserve seat, don't worry. Let me fight for this, let me fight from this constituency. So that is another barrier, I think. It's been 53 years now. And I think parties should ready to nominate female candidates if they are competent, if they are, really winnable candidates. And I think there are a good number of women who can directly contest in the national election and who can win. So I think parties should provide them some opportunity, and some parties should support them so that they can go for direct election and contest like any other male candidates. Last but not the least, our society is not very safe for women. As I have already mentioned, that an 8-year-old girl is not safe in this society. So how can a family allow their child, a female child, to go and work in a field where it is very much challenging, where it is not safe for the women? So I think it is the condition of the overall society that needs to be addressed. Thank you. Thank you for the time being.
Thank you. Well, speaking from experience and now to a very young leader, what are the challenges that you've been facing entering politics? Nazifa.
Okay. I'm also privileged, I think, that my family had political background, and when I grew up, I saw that my father is associated with many types of political interaction, and then he was an organizer, he's a teacher, and I had that, I was, in my family, my father was, he read books a lot, and I had that privilege to get touch with many types of books. So I can, yes, not that thing. I think that what encouraged me in my childhood is that I can take a name of a book is that Garbhodharini is mean who gave birth mother, and it was written by Somaresh Mojumdar, a book. It encouraged me a lot in my childhood. I can remember that when I was in my class 5, I was a primary student. So in that time, I had that chance to interact with that book, and I didn't know that I read that book. I didn't have that much understanding that what I am going through in that time. But when I finished reading this book, and in my college life and in high school life, that book resonates with me highly. There was one character named Joita. So she was I think she was politically conscious character. In that book, they were 4 friends, and they had that understanding of social consciousness, and they had their political understanding. So that book had a real impact on me. But if I talk about the challenges, I think the challenges is not personal. In this case, in our country, what I felt when I entered in political stimulation, or it was my personal choice, and after that, after this mass uprising, what I felt that the political history of Bangladesh is main-eyed. Like we saw the political stimulation or political narratives through the eyes of the men. The voice or the narrative from the side of women are not present. It's the history of 53 years, not the recent history. So when I found that, it didn't demotivated me. I found that I have new things to do, that I can change that, or we can change that. And in last few days, in few weeks, we have seen that the situation for our women in this country is very suffocating. Whenever, in which class we do belong, is very alarming for us, and we don't feel that safety, that we are safe in this country. There is that lack of that safety net in our country. So I think that from this perspective, this safety net and the challenges and the political participation of women, all these things come up very hard for a woman. We need to deal with so many things. We need to deal with our family. We need to deal in street. We need to deal in our education, academic arena. We need to we have that struggle in our workspace. So everywhere the struggle is common for a woman. So I think that as far I have observed that in other arenas, women have their participation and they have their dignity. But in political arena, women didn't have that strong presence. So if we want that it is going to be changed, then I think the most important thing is social is about capturing the consciousness through social media and the medias we have. We need to construct that. It's all about mental construction. It is nothing that it's very stuck thing, and we cannot change that. I think this thing is fluid, and through our mental construction, through the right use of media, we can change that. Because I had a model in my childhood, I had a name, and I have a visualization of Joita, that she can do political thought in this way. So that was my model. So I was privileged though. So when we think that unprivileged women, and in case of percentage, women are more than 50% in Bangladesh. So I think there are a huge role of social media to make this thing happen, that from the uprising to create greater political participation. So I would say that if the media houses, like not only the media houses, but also the type of book we endorse in our society, in our academic arena. So all these things comes up together to make this happen in our participation in greater political arena. So that was one thing. And another thing I found that in case of political parties, they have their mandates. They say a lot of things that we are going to do this, we are going to do that. But we have a choice. For in this upcoming election, we are thinking about that which party we are going to vote. That we will vote that party, or as a end of a citizen, I think that I will vote that political party who will be women friendly, not through their words. It have to happen through their works. So that is a priority, and I think we all should think in that way. Those people who are sitting here, we should rely on the political parties' works, not on their words. So it's a first priority. In this scenario, all the political party have to have proper political agendas for women and the implementation of their words. So last thing I would say that we should have that, we should ask for the accountability from the state mechanism, because I believe that as a individual, there are not much thing to do from our side, from our personal side. It's mostly depends on the state mechanism, that how they are going to incorporate, how they are going to making policies and implementing those things. We are seeing that repeatedly in this country, women safety is being violated. Why we didn't see that there are improper implementation of these cases, or they are not executing, they cannot assure us, the state mechanism, that we are doing something. I would say that Women and Children Ministry, Home Advisor Ministry, and then Law and Justice Enforcement are women who is being exploited or being bullied or being sexually assaulted, anything, that woman. Last night I was talking to a female student of my university, West University. She was being harassed last night just. She was talking to me that I cannot feel safe that in my family, that I can say. I know that if I report a case, they will say that I am doing wrong. Why I was walking after 10, after 11. So I was, in that moment, I was felt helpless. That this country cannot assure, our system cannot assure us that, okay, a woman is being assaulted and she is safe. We will ensure every type of safety net for her. So this is the scenario, and in this case, we should not think that if we do not feel accountable those state mechanism, our situation will be changed. So is their first priority. We are paying them as a woman, as a citizen, but they are not ensuring our safety, and they are not making policies to make this happen, that women will be also feel that type of encouraged encouraging scenario where they will feel safe to enter politics is the very, I would say it's not the primary thing, it is secondary thing. I think for a woman, participating in political arena is a last thing can be that I will join in a political party, because everyday life, the way we had to go through those type of struggles is very hard for a woman to think about that. So I think all these things like media, our mental construction, role of political parties, and our aspiration to make feel accountable, all those state mechanism, all this together can make our greater political participation. So that's from my end. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to say just two quick things. One, feel free to speak in any language that you're comfortable in. You don't have to speak in English or in Bangla. We have a translator app, so that translates. Number two, maybe just keep it a little short so that everybody has a chance to speak. And I also, if you want to say something, please raise your hand. I will give you the floor. But for now, I would like to turn to Gitanjali from UN Women, because we've been talking about all these impediments, and we've been talking about how the more things change, the more they've been the same, really.
And I want to thank Dhaka Tribune and the Norwegian Embassy for organizing this roundtable. I hope you will continue conversations on women's representation and leadership for the rest of the year, because really this needs to be front and center as we move forward. The ambassador mentioned we observed International Women's Day, and we're commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Platform for Action. Globally, the world is more equal, and we still see underrepresentation of women in politics. The pandemic of violence against women continues. Social norms have not changed as fast as we would like them to. And the moral policing continues as well, including in Bangladesh. I think what has been worrying for me as UN Women has been the invisibilization of the young women who were at the forefront. And when the High Commissioner and myself, we have met with them, tokenism being used has been something that they have repeatedly mentioned. In addition, I think the environment hasn't changed. The Consensus Commission has no women, but the Women's Reform Commission has only women. So again, we are still not seeing the shift with regard to equal representation. And 3 points with regard to today's subject. I think political parties, we have the representation of people's order. The 33% has never been met, and really we should stop talking about 33%. It has to be parity. The second point is about enabling environment, as many speakers have mentioned. Violence against women, online tech-facilitated violence is also holding a lot of potential back. A lot of young women, because of the trolling, are moving away from politics. Political parties do need to invest in financing. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for other women to come forward without that financial support. And the last point is role models, mentoring, that is key, and networking for women across party lines. You really need an inter-party women's caucus. That peer support and solidarity is very important, that women feel that there is somebody behind you saying, okay, you go forward, I'm there. I think that is key. I'll stop for now.
Thank you. Speaking of online harassment and what women go through, we have several women journalists here. Zaima, would you like to speak about the barrage of abuse that comes your way?
It's a little. I think I would struggle to translate the profanity that they usually hurl at me into something that is acceptable in a whole room like this. So I don't know how to. This is a bit of a hard one to talk about. You get the worst part about it is that, it becomes a part of your job. It really is a part of your job, and it's something you have to take lying down. If you do not have the skin for it, please do not get into this role, because if you're going to be a public-facing woman, if you're going to be a woman who is essentially on the front end of a media organization, then you will have to face. I could be writing happy birthday on one of your profiles, and you'd see that post getting turned into sort of like an abuse session directed at me. And this, I think, goes to show the kind of impunity that men in society truly believe that they have, the kind of entitlement that they believe that they have, because these are not bots, these are not people hiding behind locked profiles, these are people with real jobs. These are, if I had the time and patience to hunt down every one of these persons and report them to their workplaces, report them to their families, they would be in massive trouble, except I think I have better things to do with my life. It's not just me, of course, like any woman who has been in the forefront demanding, changes to be made. They've been demanding their rights, or they have been political, they have been politicized, have had to face this kind of abuse. And then I think I was just mentioning to my co-participant here that as important as it is for us to get here together and talk about what we each go through, it's even more important to have people at the table who do not agree with us. Like, nobody at this table is going to be asking me about my clothes, is going to be commenting on my appearance, is going to be telling me the kind of things that these men say to us, they think that they have the right to say to us on a daily, hourly basis. What we need are men who we do not agree with to come at the same table with us, and we need to start talking to them. At the moment, it really is a we and them dichotomy. It really is. And I do want to say that the last 15 years or more did not help, because the last 15 years did create a bit of a sort of like a cultural dichotomy between these are what elite, privileged, secular-minded people look like, this is what they talk like, this is the kind of politics that they practice, and then this is the rest of the country. And this dichotomy has been very firmly entrenched over the through the last political regime. And now women are essentially the ones who are paying the price of this. We have been at the forefront. It's not the men. The men are not the ones who are being hunted down. There's just this morning, my sister messaged me a video that's been made with photos of her and some of the other, she's very out there, she's very politically active, she's on the streets campaigning for women's rights, and then there's this photo about quote-unquote Shahbagis, and that's been put out on the internet with photos of them and their supposed rates. And then she was like, what do I do about it? I was like, nothing. Report the video and swallow it and get on with your day, because there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do about it.
That's the thing, though. Like, we swallow it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're told to do, because the minute you go to the police or anywhere else, they will start victim blaming you, just the way they did the Dhaka University girl.
I actually, while I do agree with you,
yeah,
I absolutely do agree with you. They will be victim blaming you, but more than the police right now, I think the bigger concern really is, it's not, the police can be bent. The police can, you can force your hand with them. You will not be able to force your hand with the thousands of people who do not believe that you have a right to exist in the way that you are doing at the moment. And so what we need are broader cultural conversations, across cultural lines. This is not a homogeneous country, and we need to stop believing that we are like that.
That's very true. Thank you so much.
Can I ask you, is such a conversation really possible, you think, with these other groups of men?
How is this helping, Appa? How
এখানে আপনারা তো কেউ আমাকে এসে বলবেন না যে আমি ওড়না কেন পরিনি, তো আমাদের এখানে নিজেদের মধ্যে কথা বলে আসলে আমাদের লাভটা কি আর হচ্ছে? উই হ্যাভ টু গো এন্ড চ্যালেঞ্জ देम।
যে কনভারসেশন করে কি তাদের মানে মন চেঞ্জ করা যাবে কিনা, ওরা তো একদম, সেটা আমার প্রশ্ন আর কি তোমাকে।
ওটা যদি আমি বলি তাহলে তো আমাদের এত বছরের যে ডেভেলপমেন্ট সেক্টরে যে পরিমাণ কাজ হয়েছে জেন্ডার অ্যাওয়ারনেস নিয়ে, তাহলে তো পুরোটাকে আমার প্রশ্ন করতে হবে। অবশ্যই কিছু না কিছু তো এখানে হেল্প হয়, যারা এগুলো নিয়ে কাজ করে তারা নিশ্চয়ই এখানে কিছুর ইম্প্যাক্ট দেখেন বলেই এখানে তারা ইম্প্যাক্ট করে যাচ্ছেন বছর পর বছর। এবং এটা আসলে যারা আমাদেরকে ফেসবুকে বসে ট্রল করছে, আমি বলছি না যে এটা একদিনে এটা চেঞ্জ হবে, কিন্তু আমরা মানে নাও মোর দ্যান এভার ইটস বিকাম আ pivotal moment. We really need to start reaching out to these communities and telling them that what they think is wrong, questioning their biases, because if we leave them, going about their day unchecked, it's not, we don't have an alternative. Your back is against the wall.
Of course.
Just what she was saying, it's the men think that it is okay. It is okay to do that, and they think it's a normal thing to do. Like the other day, it's a month of Ramadan. We all do our own thing. Religion is a very personal thing, and somebody was telling me, a man colleague, that why I was not covering my head during a iftar occasion. So since I have a thick skin and I'm used to it, I looked at him and said that it's why are you not covering your head with a tupi? Wear a tupi first and then come and tell me to cover my.
Yeah.
So that is something you have to. That is something. It's our society collectively. We have to fight back. We have to fight back, and it's about time that we start fighting back.
Yeah, exactly. So about fighting back and how we can fight back, there are certain things that we've been talking about that keeps coming up. One is internalized misogyny. One is how men are basically taught that they have the right to be this way. It's also superseded by a sense of culture, then it kind of like is justified through religion in many ways. In Bangladesh, it's become this. The word feminist is now a dirty word. You can't say that. It's associated with, oh, you're, all sorts of crazy things. But as a researcher, Famidapa, someone who spent a considerable amount of time looking at how our society functions, can you tell us something about this?
Thank you very much, Esha. I'll be very brief. I think I'll speak in Bangla. There are a lot of journalists. I think it's better that this message, and particularly after Zaima spoke, that we are talking in a group who are already aware and already working in the field of women's empowerment. আমি যেটা বলবো, so এখানে I thought I would speak on little bit on the economic empowerment, but I see the focus is political participation. I have not much knowledge on that. So economic empowerment খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ মেয়েদের ক্ষমতায়নের জন্য, এবং এটা একটা প্রথম ধাপ আমি বলবো, কারণ যতদিন পর্যন্ত পলিটিক্যাল ইমানসিপেশন না হয় ততদিন পর্যন্ত আসলে শুধুমাত্র ইকোনমিক এম্পাওয়ারমেন্টটা ইন আইসোলেশন কাজ করবে না। বিকজ আমরা দেখছি যে বাংলাদেশে এখন শ্রমবাজারে মেয়েদের অংশগ্রহণ বাড়ছে গত 53 বছরে। এখন সর্বশেষ লেবার ফোর্স পার্টিসিপেশন, যে লেবার ফোর্স সার্ভে যেটা হয়েছে, সেখানে মেয়েদের অংশগ্রহণ 37%, still much less than 50%, মেয়েরা অর্ধেক তারপরেও, but still এটা একটা improvement as opposed to that what we were earlier. কিন্তু মূল জিনিসটা হচ্ছে যে এখানে আবার এই 37% এর মধ্যে mostly they are in the informal sector, যেখানে কিনা কাজের বেতন খুব কম, কাজের কোনো নিশ্চয়তা নাই। ওভার 90% ছেলেদের ক্ষেত্রে ইনফর্মাল লেবার ফোর্স পার্টিসিপেশন বেশি, ইনফর্মাল সেক্টরে কাজ করছে 80%। কিন্তু আরেকটা জিনিস হচ্ছে যে এখানে ওয়েজ গ্যাপ কিন্তু স্টিল রয়েছে, এক একটা সেক্টরে এক এক রকম, বাট ইন জেনারেল ইটস কোয়াইট হাই। বাট আই রেকগনাইজ অলসো যে ছেলে মেয়েদের ওয়েজ গ্যাপটা কিন্তু ডেভেলপ কান্ট্রিতেও অনেক বেশি আছে স্টিল, সো উই হ্যাভ টু ওয়ার্ক লট টুয়ার্ডস দ্যাট। আরেকটা বিষয় যে আমাদের ইকোনমিক ডাইভার্সিফিকেশনের আমরা কথা বলি, সেই জন্যই কিন্তু এমপ্লয়মেন্টও কিন্তু কয়েকটা সেক্টরের মধ্যেই আটকে আছে। ওয়ান অফ দ্য সেক্টরস, এবং যেটাকে আমরা সবসময় শোকেস করি, সেটা হচ্ছে যে রেডিমেড গার্মেন্টস সেক্টর, তৈরি পোশাক শিল্পে, যেখানে মেয়েদের অংশগ্রহণ অনেক বেশি। বাট স্যাডলি আনফর্চুনেটলি এটা আমরা যখন 80-র দশকে mid-80s শুরু হয়েছিল এই সেক্টরটার বিকাশ হয়েছিল, তখন কিন্তু 80% মেয়েরা ছিল এখানে। এখন এটা 60%-এর নিচে নেমে গিয়েছে, আমাদের নিজেদের সার্ভেতে আমরা দেখেছি। সো এখানে কেন কমে যাচ্ছে? ওয়ান অফ দ্য রিজনস অ্যাকচুয়ালি ইজ দ্যাট এখানে কিন্তু টেকনোলজিক্যাল আপগ্রেডেশন অনেক হয়েছে। এই টেকনোলজিক্যাল আপগ্রেডেশনের ফলে মেয়েরা কিন্তু সেটার মধ্যে নাই, যার ফলে কিন্তু তারা অনেকেই ঝরে পড়ছে, অ্যান্ড দে আর কি করছে, তারা চলে যাচ্ছে গ্রামে। সো এটা একটা গুরুত্বপূর্ণ যে মেয়েদের কাজে থাকার পরেও কিন্তু ডিসক্রিমিনেশনগুলো কোথায় আসে, যে স্কিলস ডেভেলপমেন্ট, টেকনোলজিক্যাল ডেভেলপমেন্ট, এটা একটা। আরেকটা বিষয় হচ্ছে মেয়েদের অন্য সেক্টরে, বিশেষ করে আরবান মেয়েদের কথা যদি বলি, ইউনিভার্সিটিতে কারা ভালো রেজাল্ট করছে, মেয়েরাই কিন্তু দেখবেন যে টপ 10%-এর মধ্যে মেয়েরাই আসছে। তারা অনেকেই শ্রমবাজারে যায়, পার্টিকুলারলি আপনার ব্যাংকিং সেক্টর, তারপর টেলিকমিউনিকেশন সেক্টরস, এরকম অনেক সার্ভিস সেক্টরে যাচ্ছে। কিন্তু একটা পর্যায়ে যে যখন তার সে 5 বছর হলো, 6 বছর 7 বছর হলো, যে সে যখন মিড ক্যারিয়ারের দিকে যাচ্ছে, তখন তাকে কিন্তু আবার ঘরে ফেরত যেতে হয় ফর রিজনস যে তার বাচ্চার মানে ফ্যামিলি এক্সপ্যানশন, বাচ্চা হবে, এই কারণে কিন্তু তার চলে যেতে হয়। তো দেখা যাচ্ছে যে তার যে বডি ক্লক অ্যান্ড দ্য ক্যারিয়ার ক্লক কোয়েনসাইড করে, কিন্তু ওইটা আবার একে অপরের সাথে ম্যাচ করে না। সো এটার কারণটা কি? এটা হচ্ছে যে আমাদের এখানে আমরা অনেকেই যারা কাজ করছি আমাদের ব্রডার ফ্যামিলির সাপোর্ট নিয়ে করেছি, বাট ওভার দ্য ইয়ার্স কিন্তু ফ্যামিলির কম্পোজিশন হয়ে যাচ্ছে, চেঞ্জ হয়ে যাচ্ছে। এখানে ফ্যামিলি মানে সিঙ্গেল ফ্যামিলি, বড় ব্রডার ফ্যামিলি থাকছে না জয়েন্ট ফ্যামিলিতে, তো সেটা তো থাকবে না। অ্যাজ উই প্রোগ্রেস, এটাই হচ্ছে সমাজের পরিবর্তন, ট্রানজিশন হয়। সো সেইখানে গভর্নমেন্টের রোলটা ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট। গভর্নমেন্ট কীভাবে তাদেরকে সুযোগ সুবিধা দিবে, সেখানে আমরা বলছি যে বাচ্চাদের ডে কেয়ার সেন্টার, নিরাপদ, সেফটি ইজ দ্য মোস্ট ইম্পর্টেন্ট কিওয়ার্ড। ইটস ফর এভরিওয়ান, শুধুমাত্র মেয়েদের জন্য না, ছেলেদের জন্য, বাচ্চাদের জন্য, ফর এভরিওয়ান। তো সেটা একটা খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। তো সেই জন্য কিভাবে গভর্নমেন্ট করছে, আমাদের এখানে অনেক দেখেছি যে পলিটিক্যাল পার্টিসিপেশন, মেয়েরা আমরা তো বেশিরভাগ সময় কিন্তু নারী নেত্রী দিয়েই তো শাসিত হয়েছি, কিন্তু দেখা যায় যে সেখানে তো আর পরিবর্তন হয়নি। একই এই মহিলা এবং নারী মন্ত্রণালয় জিডিপির এই বাজেটের কিন্তু খুবই কম, জিডিপির তুলনায় 1% কম থাকে, এবং তারা বলে যে বাজেটের মধ্যে 25-26% নাকি নারী উন্নয়নের জন্য, নারী রিলেটেড, সেখানে একটা অন্য আলাপ, বাট ওইটার কিন্তু সবাই করে, এখানে একটা লাম্প করে দেখানো হয়। তো বলার বিষয় হচ্ছে যে মেয়েরা পলিটিক্সে আসলেই কি পরিবর্তন হবে? হবে না। এই কারণটা হচ্ছে যে আপনার পলিটিক্যাল সিস্টেমটাকেই বদলাতে হবে। যেই সিস্টেমের মধ্যে, পলিটিক্যাল সিস্টেমের মধ্যে মেয়েরা যদি আসেও, তো সেখানে তো কোনো ওইখানে যে আমার 8 বছরের এই যে বাচ্চা মেয়ে যে হলো, রেপ হলো, এটা তো আগেও হয়েই আসছে, প্রতি বছরই এই স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্সগুলা কিন্তু কমছে না, বাড়ছে। সো ইট ইজ অ্যাবাউট দ্যাট হাউ ডিপ রুটেড দিস প্রবলেম ইজ। সেটা করার জন্য একটা রাজনৈতিক ব্যবস্থার পরিবর্তন এটা করতে হবে। আমাদের আগে তো দেখেন, জাতীয় ইলেকশনে না হলেও স্থানীয় ইলেকশনে অনেক মেয়েরা অংশগ্রহণ করেছে, কিন্তু সেখানে আপনি দেখেন যে ভাতা, সোশ্যাল সেফটি নেটের জন্য যে ভাতাগুলি, সেখানে কিংবা গম চুরি, এগুলি হয়নি। গম চুরি হচ্ছে। তারপরে আপনার যে দরিদ্রদের জন্য এমপ্লয়মেন্ট কর্মসূচি ছিল একটা, সেখানে কারা এটা পাচ্ছে? আর সামাজিক নিরাপত্তার মধ্যে যে লিস্টের মধ্যে যাদের উপযুক্ত না, তারা এটার মধ্যে যাচ্ছে, আবার যাদের প্রয়োজন তারা নাই, তো ওখানে তো তারা লবি করে ঢুকাচ্ছে নামটা। তো মেয়েদের তো অনেক অংশগ্রহণ ছিল মূল বিষয়টা হচ্ছে যে আমার কোন ইন উইচ পলিটিক্যাল সিস্টেম দে উইল বি ওয়ার্কিং ওইখানে হাত দিতে হবে তাহলেই আপনার পলিটিক্যাল সিস্টেমের সাথে ইকোনমিক সিস্টেমটা এটা কোইনসাইড করে ইট হ্যাজ টু বি ইন ট্যান্ডেম ইট হ্যাজ টু বি ওয়ার্কড আদারওয়াইজ দুটো সেপারেটেড হলে এটা হচ্ছে না এবং মূল জিনিসটা হচ্ছে যে অ্যাট দি এন্ড অফ দ্য ডে আপা খুব সুন্দর করে বলেছিলেন যে মেয়েদের পার্টিসিপেশন রাইট ফ্রম দ্য ফর ইন মেনি অল দ্য বিগ আন্দোলনের মধ্যে ছিল কিন্তু মেয়েরাই কিন্তু তারপরে আর তারা ডিসিশন মেকিং আসতে পারে না এবং ডিসিশন মেকিংও দেখেন এখন তারপরে আমাদের ওভার দ্য ইয়ার্স গত 15 বছরে অনেক কিন্তু সেক্রেটারি সচিব হয়েছেন সচিব পর্যায়ে যে হয়েছেন কিন্তু সেখানে কি নারী বান্ধব নীতিমালা পরিবর্তন হয়েছে বেশি হয়েছে না তো মূল বিষয়টাতে আসলে হাত দিতে হবে কিভাবে সেটা রাজনৈতিক ব্যক্তিরা যারা মাঠে আছেন এবং যারা রাজনৈতিক বিষয় নিয়ে আলোচনা করেন তারা বলতে পারবেন অনেক ধন্যবাদ
আমি just একটা জিনিস বলতে চাই the fact that we're coming back to the same as culture a lack of education will forcibly force the onus of responsibility to women in many ways the division of labor will always be more for women and less for men and we keep coming back to this idea that there needs to be a change in culture and the way we perceive women and the way we make space for women. We keep coming back to that. Aminapa, as you have to go, but would you be able to explain a little bit more about this?
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this floor, and thank you, Zafar, for inviting me, and thank you for the reminder as well. Actually, upper pore kotha bolte ekটু ভয় লাগে Ronak appa is someone jinake amra মানে ওনা বই পড়েই আমরা বড় হয়েছি and we look upon her as our mentor and Appa, we have learned a lot from you and on this particular day we would like to acknowledge it সেই জায়গাটা আমাদের থাকা দরকার I remember while listening to all of you Shama, if you recall in 2008 I was covering as a researcher covering your elections and you were sitting there and you had just come back from abroad and you talked to me for a long time so what I was trying to do is that how our women parliamentarians when they contest how they are there in the field and how the male behave the difference in their behavior patterns and of course, Shama was very nice to me, and somehow the male colleagues that I went to, they thought that what is she doing, what is she trying to assess. So one could find that attitudinal difference, and it's good to see you come along with since then. And but যে জায়গাটাতে আমি কথা বলার চেষ্টা করছি is like two I think things, 2 or 3 things are very critical. As we tread this, journey, as someone who has been, talking about gender studies, women rights, and Lalufa, my colleague, is sitting over here. She would attest to this, that how difficult it was for us to open, a course on gender studies and a course on women in gender in international relations in my own department and what Appa was saying that in 73 people had said to her that why she uses the word rape and in the late 90s and early 2000 I remember my students coming up to me and saying that ma'am you are using words which normalizes things which are not acceptable in our society. So, 73, then 2003, 2004, so we didn't really walk much. So in a way you are right that culture needs to be changed. But I'm glad to see that over the years things are changing. I wouldn't say that things have not changed. And I do see in my class both men and young boys, young girls, talking about things quite openly, and despite wearing a hijab, they are quite open about many ideas. So I don't want to go into the dress politics, but or body politics. But what is important for me is that if your mind is open or not, I think that is very critical. And their education, and particularly formal education, has a major role to play. And if I may come to the points that I would like to highlight is that when we talk about women in politics, I think one has to keep in context the politics of location and also the politics of knowledge. That these are very important. And when I talk about politics of location, I would like to bring in the politics of dialogue, difference, dissidence, all that in together. So in the post-July scenario, what is important for me, and this is perhaps to my younger colleague over here, that if you think that post-July has opened up the space for a politics of dialogue, মানে আপনারা কি ওই স্পেসটা দিচ্ছেন যেখানে একটা ভিন্ন মতকে আর difference, are you accommodating another opinion, that there can be other opinions? মানে personally I'm very tired, and I want to put on record over here that of this politics of labeling in Bangladesh, the divisiveness that goes on in in Bangladesh. So we see that like কেউ কিছু বললেই যে একটা তকমা লাগিয়ে দেওয়া হয়, you just label a person as someone. So we had, when we talk about qualitative transformation in politics that Fahmida was just talking about, so we would like to see that if this politics is evolving in Bangladesh or not. It is one thing that women have participated in it. That is very encouraging, of course, that is very encouraging. But for me, it is equally important to see what qualitative change it has brought about in our politics. That's why I say that this politics of location, politics of information is very important for me. What kind of knowledge I have, what knowledge system am I producing? Is it something different or not? Or am I going back to a system where it is that vicious politics again, where you are labeling, one another? We have had enough of this for the last 53 years, and I'm looking forward to a future where we would come out of it and look towards a future where, women, men, everybody would be much more secure, and they would feel that, yes, they can speak out without being trolled in the Facebook. That is something, so we were talking about social media, what a menace it has become. It is power. Of course, it is a powerful tool. Like I took a photograph of this and sent it to one of my Indian friends. So, this is something, I have this power, my smartphone gives me that power, but at the same time, I can misuse it. So that is also very important for me. The other thing that I would, for the mainstream political parties over here, Shama and Rumin is also over there, what we have done with the local government. Appa was talking about, women's participation in the in mainstream politics. Local government for me was a platform where you could groom women politicians from the community level, but by politicizing it, and because now one has to contest on party basis, that again becomes a problematic thing. So I'm not sure if the political parties propose to bring about any change in that system. That is something which needs to be seen, because local government did provide a platform to women, though there was a quota system. And it was, I mean, we wrote a lot on this. Ronak Appa has also written on it. Zarina Appa, Ronak Appa, we all had worked on it, that, you know, how limiting it was for women. But at least these were pathways of empowerment for women at the community level, but which we do not see, you know, with the thing that you need to have a party platform in the local government, that also has become limited. That brings me to the point, you know, like our friend over here was talking, that, you know, one doesn't need a boro bhai if one has wealth. But unfortunately in politics, even if one has wealth, one needs muscle and one needs a boro bhai. I mean, of course, wealth is important. It is maybe a pathway in certain sectors, but in real politics, it becomes very difficult for women without any strong backing to come out and speak out. But with that, I'll just, I hope I'm not too pessimistic, but these are issues, you know, one confronts on a daily basis. But I'm hopeful that things would move forward, because we are seeing also for the first time in Bangladesh that public universities and private universities, they're working in tandem. And today there's a procession going out from the North-South University also, teachers, students, you know, protesting what has happened. Earlier, this was the domain of the public universities, so let us hope for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of politics and participation and making space for women, Saqib bhai, I know you've been waiting, very sorry. Aapne pore bolben? You sure? Okay. All right, so then we will segue a little bit. Yasmin Appa, did you have something to say?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, after I heard from Zaima and a couple of others, and of course my direct teacher is here, I used to call Ronak Madam as Ronak Khala, because she's my best friend's Khala. So we are talking about a lot of issues, but one thing is that when we are talking about how do we perceive women, how women are portrayed in the media, how we are coming back to the talk of the culture. So who do we have this dialogue with? Who do we have this talk with? We often forget that internalization of patriarchy happens at house. Family is the smallest unit where we understand the difference between us versus them. So in a lot of areas, discussion is now moving forward to teaching the mothers, because it's from the mother one knows that I'm a woman becomes a woman. The very famous Simone de Beauvoir's, you know, statement that I am not a woman, I have become a woman, right? So I am taught by my mother how to behave, how to go outside, how to sort of cover myself. So this is one thing we are missing. Women here talking about a lot of issues that society perceives us. This society is what we come with, what we create back at home and, you know, impose on the other. So internalization of patriarchy, and who are the biggest gatekeeper of patriarchy, this is something we need to talk, and that's us women. I learned from my mother that, you know, back in those days, there's a sort of concept of, let me say it in a bit Bangla, stand kora, matric intermediate, right? So when I got the position, and I had a position in combined merit list, I had a position among women's, you know, merit list. And I would always proudly say that, no, my combined merit list is this and that. My mother would say, no, the other one also matters, and that she taught me why that matters. I learned first about, you know, why this is different from my mother, but the same mother told me in my mid-20s, when I got a Fulbright scholarship, I'll go out to, you know, study. No, you cannot leave the country unless you are married. Because she was being pressured by the society. She was being pressured by our relatives, by, you know, neighbors and everyone. So I had to get married at that point. And then I was allowed to go out, despite me being a lecturer. When many people know my direct teacher is here, many people know my history. My husband passed away at a very early age. I was an assistant professor in the university. And then, no, your first task is to get married, because you need a man behind you. I resisted, I still resisted, and now when I want to rent a house, I need a guardian. I literally have a guardian guardian. Despite being a professor, I cannot rent a house without a guardian. So these are some of the cultures that are created, that are being sustained, that are being reproduced, and women share a fair a percentage of that. Let us not forget that. Let us not forget that is the women. And there are many cartoons saying that mother's tongue is being reproduced by the kid. And let us not please forget that. Then again, when we are having this conversation here, we are forgetting, some of us mentioned that we are the privileged class here. Go to the urban area. So 2 weeks back, I went to see a village court in operation where there were female participants, there were male participants. And you wouldn't believe the way the female members are, vocal. They want to make their voices heard because they know that matters. So we need to also go to the rural areas and talk to them. And then again, that's the political part. Then when I ask them about marriage and other sort of issues, they're saying, oh, no. Maya manusher to biya age hoite hobe. Apnar biya nai, apnar bachcha nai, ahare apnar koto dukkho. I mean, if you understand that, my whole life doesn't make sense because I don't have a husband, because I don't have kids. But that I chose that later on, not to get married, not to have kids, that doesn't matter. So when I was doing PhD in Australia, so even there in the Bengali community, the people were telling me this is the saddest lady in the room because she doesn't have a husband, she doesn't have any kids. So this is what women create, this is what they sustain, this is what they reproduce. We need to really understand that. Then again, another one, I'll not take much time, that when we are talking about UN and other forces, so we need a nudge from our partners, international partners, our partners like Norwegian Embassy is working here today. We need this kind of partners because the local matters in the representation of the global. So it needs to be a two-way channel because Bangladesh has one of my sister-in-law right now in CAR, Central African Republic, and working with as a UN peacekeeper. So the kind of work they are doing, so that's the image Bangladesh has globally. We need to sustain that as well as we have heavy duty work to be done here at home, and so that we do not forget that. And then last but not the least, I did a work that was back in '99. I got a sort of scholarship from RCSS, Regional Center for Strategic Studies, and I'm very sorry to say what I wrote back in '99 is still relevant, that how deterioration of the law and order affects women the first. And we are seeing a continuation of that. And how do we address that? How do we make public places safe for women? I am really worried going here and there without having a transport, my own transport. I freely walk anywhere in the world, except for a couple of South Asian countries, but anywhere in the world, and I don't fear walking outside, like even late at night. But when I come back to my country, okay, I know that I have to limit like my freedom or whatever we talk about. And I, of course, have to acknowledge that Department of International Relations back in 1996 was the very first time introduced women in women in international relations and environment, and one of our teachers taught it. She was Professor Ashika Irshad now, but she was a lecturer back then. And then I do not know if I'm the first one, but one of the sort of first ones who studied women's studies back in '99. It was under Fulbright scholarship, and people back here were telling me there's no future of studying women's studies, but study gender and development, something that has economic relevance. But then that was also a time for reckoning for us. I do not know how many of you remember the treatment of the Yasmin issue back in 1995, the treatment of the Seema issue in 1996. So our civil society is deeply polarized. We have to acknowledge that. It worked along political lines, and that made me sort of very disheartened that there's no point in working on women's issues here because it will be ultimately dominated by political party affiliation, because civil society is completely divided. Let's be honest about it. Now we are being able to talk, and we are being able to sort of have some voice. Sorry, one other last thing. I'm also working on female student leadership, and I've been talking with some of our students who have directly participated, unfortunately, 90 or 95% of them say they don't want leadership position. They would like to work outside in any other capacity except for being the leader. The moment you become a leader here, you are targeted. And this is called, I learned a new phrase from a number of people, echo chambering. I never knew that. I learned from them echo chambering, and that's how you make a woman stop. Yeah, okay, thank you.
That was very enlightening, thank you. Naveen, did you?
I did. Thank you for organizing this. This has been very enlightening. I think what I wanted to do is just step back a little bit to come back to the question of political participation and what is political participation, why is it even important? And not just for women, right? That, we have a tendency to sort of look at elections as the only form of political participation when in fact it isn't. It's just one barrier, and just at the top level too, right? So when we talk about the everyday, when we talk about the lives of everyday women, then that's really a pie in the sky kind of a thing, right? It's not that it's not important, right? And I think that's where the question of political participation comes in. What is it that we have to do to be participating as active citizens? What is our responsibility as active citizens in a democracy, right? And in that respect, we can think about the various ways we can utilize political institutions and recognize the failures of political institutions in actually taking our words and communicating that to the government. And at that level, again, elections are important, right? Who's representing us is important. And I think Gitanjali was talking about tokenism, just symbolic representation, and how problematic that is. And also because it serves as a disservice to democratic practice, right? When we have women representatives and we point to them to say that, hey, we have women representatives, but, are they there as representatives of women, or are they there to represent their constituencies, whoever they may be? I guess the point is, are women a constituency? Do political leaders see women as constituencies whose needs and views have to be represented, whose voices have to be communicated to the government? And to what degree are political representatives, male or female, actually representing women as constituencies, right? So there's that aspect. There the party plays a role. Is the party doing that internally? Is there internal democracy within the political party that allows for women to participate openly, right? We want women to come into politics directly, right? What does that mean if there's no internal democracy in the party to start with, right? Is there a political culture that actually allows women to become politically active within the party system, right? And so again, the political institutions like the party become important, the parliament, they become important, the judiciary and so on. The media, to what degree does the media have the capacity to represent and take our voices to the political leaders? So I guess I say all this to say that there are all these kinds of institutions or mechanisms in place that allow us to participate politically. Are we utilizing them? Are they actually being utilized as a vehicle for our voice? And I guess in that list of things that we can do, we can think of protest activities, which, these last 2 days have been very hopeful for us as women to see that women are taking the streets back, that we are managing to sort of stand up to the kind of misogyny, to the kind of sexual violence that's being perpetrated all across. And, again, not new, but also, this is very visible today. And there's been, in the post-August 5 period, this sort of sense that, okay, are we more unsafe now than we were before? There is a fear of that. And so the fact that women are now taking back the streets, that's very important. And we do know again that protests are part and parcel of the democratic process, right? It's a part of democratic practice, but it's a contradictory one. Why? Because when is it that we see protest? We see protest when all other political institutions have failed, that no other mechanisms were able to actually get our voices through, and so we have to take to the streets, right? But then again, the other contradiction is that when we see repression against protesters, when protests being suppressed, that again is a is an indication of the health of democratic practice in the country, right? And so, in thinking about these days and the kind of cultural issues that we were talking about, I think we also need to recognize, in the wake of the kind of sexual violence we see, that the home is not a safe place. It is not a safe place for women. It probably never was, right? And so, what is it that we do? Because I think that's where some of us get stuck. That how are we supposed to do this? This child was just visiting her sister. What are we going to do? What is the state supposed to do? Because what we do not also want to do is we do not want to empower the state. We cannot say have more laws, have an incarceral state, right? Because that only empowers the state, and that does not help us. We know that the police are not on the side of women. We know that more laws will not actually protect us. So what do we do? And I think at that juncture again, we need to think about protest activities, that we need to actually claim the streets. We need, I don't know, defense communities, defense pacts. We need to stay on the streets. We need to talk to one another. We need to forefront working class women. Why is it? How is it that middle class women like us are able to walk the streets? It's because garments women have done that before. That their job had entailed coming and going to work on foot. That's how they claimed the streets. That's how they paved their ways. Today, when they are vulnerable because of economic instability, when they're vulnerable because factories are facing shutdowns, their economic vulnerability has translated into physical, sexual vulnerability on the streets. And so it's not. I guess what I'm saying is that this is an issue across classes, but one where we have seen that our sisters among the working classes have paved the way for us, and we need to forefront them in this struggle. It's not just a middle class thing. And I think this is where I want to respond to Ranakapa in saying that why is it that women don't want to participate in women's organizations? Because here, for many, these women organizations are elite women's organizations. The kind of feminism we see is elite feminism that do not actually speak for working classes, right? And so any women's movement, whatever it might be, they have to forefront, they have to center the struggles of the working class. And I think I just want to again sort of highlight the vulnerability that is tied to economic vulnerability, that we talk about women's empowerment, but at the same time we have to recognize how status inconsistency makes women vulnerable also, that men have to be able to accept that women are going to do well. Women, partners, family members, they have to. So how is it that we make our homes safer? If we make our streets safer, if we empower our sisters on the streets, we can take that confidence to our home and stand up against our father, our husband, our brother, whoever they might be, right? And so it's not a separate sphere. Our streets are our place, and once we are able to claim the streets, we'll be able to claim space in our homes too. Thanks. I just want to also add one more thing. Sorry. That this expectation that women have to be super women, it's outrageous. That we did not fight to say that, we just want more work. We want to work 6 a.m. in the morning and then come back and cook and to look after the children and all that. That's not what we fought for, right? So super women model is not the feminist model.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Also, আমাদের এখানে question answer একটা session হবে. There's a question answer session. There's a lot of people who are right behind us. If you guys have any questions, please raise your hands. If you want to say something, please raise your hands. Does anybody have any questions? Of course.
I do not have a question, but I have a little bit input as a young female politician. So we have been, first of all, thank you, Dhaka Tribune and Norwegian Embassy for arranging this talk. Like clockwork, every year on Women's Day or around that time, we have this kind of talk about women's rights and issues. And for the rest of the year, we mop it under the rug and we forget about it. So we must promise ourselves that we should not do this from this year onward. And I would like to talk rest of my speech in Bangla so that the journalists can have a better understanding. আমরা বারবার বলি মেয়েরা পলিটিক্সে আসে না কেন, অথবা কিভাবে আসবে, কেন আমাদের এখানে এত উন্নয়নের পরও এত কিছুর পরও তাদের পার্টিসিপেশন বাড়ছে না কেন। আমরা তাদেরকে বলি শুধু পলিটিক্সের কথা না, কাজের ক্ষেত্রেও বলি যে তাদেরকে গ্লাস সিলিংটা ভাঙতে বলি, কিন্তু এই গ্লাস সিলিং ভাঙার জন্য যে টুলস দরকার সেই টুলসগুলো কিন্তু আমরা মেয়েদেরকে দেই না। একটা মেয়ে, আমাদের অনেক আপাই এই জিনিসগুলো এখানে বলেছেন, কিন্তু একটা মেয়ে ওই যে বলে না বায়োলজিক্যাল ক্লক এবং ক্যারিয়ার ক্লক একসাথেই বাঁচতে থাকে। তো আমাদের স্টেট কি কখনো এই যে এখন পর্যন্ত বাংলাদেশে ঢাকাতেই বলেন একটা স্টেট অর্গানাইজড ভালো চাইল্ড কেয়ার ইনস্টিটিউশন নাই, নট আ সিঙ্গেল ওয়ান। তো আপনি কিভাবে এক্সপেক্ট করেন একটা এই যে সিঙ্গেল ফ্যামিলি যেগুলো আর কি, যে বাবা মা এবং বাচ্চা, এই ফ্যামিলির একটা মেয়ে, আপনার এই যে একজন আপা বললো মাত্র মহিলা হলো 53%, কিন্তু ওয়ার্কফোর্সে আছে 37%। তাহলে যদি 50% পুরুষ ওয়ার্কফোর্সে থাকে, 50% মহিলা ওয়ার্কফোর্সে থাকে, বাচ্চাটাকে কে দেখবে? তো এই রিয়েলিটিটা আমরা কখনো কথা বলি না। আমরা বড় বড় কথা বলি যে মহিলাদের পার্টিসিপেশন কম, কিন্তু আমরা কি মহিলাদেরকে ওই টুলসটা দিয়েছি? সেকেন্ড অফ অল, পলিটিক্সে অথবা যে কোনো জায়গায় আসতে হলে আপনার সেফটিটা খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট। আপনার যখন ল অ্যান্ড অর্ডার, আমরা বারবার বলি মহিলাদের সেফটি এনশিওর করতে, কেন আমরা এই কথাটা বলি? সেফটি এনশিওর করতে হবে এভরি সিটিজেনের। যখন সিটিজেনদের সেফটি এনশিওর হয়ে যাবে তখন মহিলাদের সেফটি এমনি এনশিওর হবে। সো আমরা ওই জায়গাটাতে একটা মানে ফাঁদে পা দেই যে মহিলাদের সেফটি লাগবে, মহিলাদের না, এভরি সিটিজেন শুড হ্যাভ দ্য সেফটি ফর দেমসেলভস। তাহলেই কিন্তু আপনি ওই যে বলে না যে পলিটিক্স, এই যে একটু আগে বলেছিলেন যে ডাইনেস্টি পলিটিক্স কেন হয় জানেন আপা? কারণ যার ফ্যামিলি পলিটিক্স করে তারা জানে যে পলিটিক্সে যাইতে হলে একটা মেয়েকে কি কি রসদ দিতে হবে, অ্যাটলিস্ট তারা ওই রসদটা দেয়, ওই মেয়েটা যেতে পারে। আর অন্য ফ্যামিলি তো ওই রসদটা দেয় না, এই জন্যই যেতে পারে না। এটা এমন না যে ওরা ইচ্ছা করে শুধু ওদের মেয়েদের জন্য এই জায়গাটা। আমি কিন্তু ডাইনেস্টি ফ্যামিলি থেকে আসি নাই, তারপর আমি বুঝি যে ওই যেমন আমার বাবা অন্য একটা জায়গায় পলিটিক্স করেন দেখে কিন্তু আমার একটা মেয়ে হিসেবে পলিটিক্স করতে হলে কি কি লাগবে, আমি খুবই প্রিভিলেজ জায়গা থেকে আসছি, কি কি লাগবে সবকিছু প্রোভাইড করা হয়, যার কারণে আমি এরকম সুন্দর রাউন্ড টেবিলে বসে বড় বড় কথা বলি। কিন্তু ওই রসদটা না থাকলে কিন্তু আমি বড় বড় কথাগুলো বলতে পারতাম না। সুতরাং এই রসদগুলো প্রোভাইড না করে, এই যে স্টেট থেকে এই জিনিসগুলো দাবি না করে আমরা শুধু ডে ইন ডে আউট বলছি মহিলারা আসে না কেন, তাদের কথা বলে না কেন, 53% মহিলা পার্লামেন্টে যায় হলো 10%, কারণ কি আমরা তাদেরকে ওই টুলসগুলো দিচ্ছি না। তো যেদিন আমরা এই টুলসগুলো দিব তখনই আমরা তার সমতাটা দেখতে পারবো। ধন্যবাদ।
আমার এখানে we have a lovely question answer session. If anybody has any questions for our panel. No questions, but of course. Let her just finish and then we can come to you. Okay.
Okay, I think I can explain ashole Saqib bhai ke keno daka hoyse ekhane. Hi, I am Prapti Taposhi. I am a student of Jahangirnagar University and an activist. First of all, the conversation that has been going on, the power of women from the uprising to greater political participation. So I think, though I'm a very optimistic person, but I think these roundtable discussions will be of no use if you cannot ask the right question to the right person or to the right place. So what I'm trying to say with this, because throughout this month or after the July uprising, we have seen lots of violences, we have seen mob attacks, we have seen the law and order situation has fallen in a very stressful level, and nobody has the guts to call the elephant in the room. Nobody has the guts to talk to the advisors or the commission members that what is their take on those scenarios or on those things. Because everybody out there, everybody of us, we want to be the good book on those advisors, of those commissions, and everybody just wants to be the good boy or good girl. And understand that when we do not ask the questions to the advisors, when we do not ask the questions to the reform commission, they have formed numerous reform commissions, and when we do not ask the questions to them, these somehow lead so that they are not accountable. They have formed the cabinet. They have stood out in the chair through the bloodshed of us, the students, the youth generation. And now all of them are acting like they have no accountability. Not even one of them showed the guts to acknowledge what has been happening, to acknowledge how they are failing. So this is why we are failing, because we do not ask the questions to them. We are always here. I have joined tons of these roundtable discussions. I am just 24, but I think I have joined this type of discussions 100 most probably. So I don't think this will be of any use if we cannot get to them. And I know there are people here who are close to the cabinet, who are close to the advisors, who are close to the people who has been on some reformation commissions, but they do not ask the right questions. This is my first take. The second is the political party stakeholder. Every political party, after the July Uprising has happened, every one of them, they are literally, I would say, in a competition to take the stakeholder of July Uprising. Who can eat the sweet the most? Who can get the most stakeholder of July Uprising? Who can own July the most? Shamelessly. I would say shamelessly, because everybody knows that the July Uprising did not happen throughout the call of any political parties, right? We were there, the students were there, and every stakeholder of the society, the community, the teachers, the rickshawalas, the day laborers, the sex workers, everybody was right there on the streets. The people were there on the streets whose rights you do not even acknowledge right now as a political party. As a political party, you do not acknowledge the rights of a sex worker. As a political party, you do not acknowledge the rights of a queer or trans community. As a political party, you say you are inclusive, but you are always acting the majoritarian, to serve the majoritarian portion of the society or the country. For what? For getting their votes, for getting elected. Well, you won't be elected. This is the actual truth. You won't be elected. If you get elected in the next election, you saw what the murderous legacy of Awami League. Everybody out there, everybody who has some brain, every politician out there, they should learn from the murderous legacy of Sheikh Hasina. And they just don't. They don't learn from the legacy of Awami League. So when the proclamation of July happened, there was meetings with chief advisors, there were meetings with numerous stakeholders and staff. When the photo gets out in the social medias, we saw that there was only one woman in the proclamation of July. And yet, I would say the word shamelessly, that you go to a discussion with only one woman, or I would say 2 or 3 of them, being in there, and you say that you are giving the proclamation of July. Well, this is not July. You cannot give the proclamation of July with one woman, and you are wondering that why am I here? Why am I here? You are here because you are a man. You were invited there because you are a male, and I would always say you are a Bengali Muslim male. Where are the indigenous people? Where are the people who are not Muslims and the Hindus who do not speak the language of Awami League? There are numerous Hindus, there are numerous Buddhists, Christians, Jains in Bangladesh who do not serve Awami League. Where are them? So the political party stakeholder is like that whenever you will join a discussion with chief advisor and you will have a discussion on law and reformation commission and election, then you will send out your male politicians. You will send out your male politicians to talk to the working class, to talk to the students, and you will send your female politicians in roundtables like this, and in talk shows, and in the front of TV medias, and in newspapers, so that their face gets recognized. So these, if you talk like this, if you act like this, and if you are here and if you think that why are women not here, and I'm enraged by that by that talk that, well, the women do not come. We invited a lots of female politicians, they just don't come. Why don't they come? They are not here because they have sent their partners. They are not here because they have sent their elder brothers or the leading part of their religious communities, rajnoitik, political communities, political parties, because they are at the home taking care of your child. They are at the home writing your scripts for you. They are in your office so that your PR, press release, gets the very well inclusive wordings and inclusive sentences. So this is because of you, that you do not give the space, you do not give the chance for the woman to come and to talk. And the woman who you give chance, the woman who only speaks your language, the woman who do not have any kind of agency, the women who do not answer to your ideologies or your questions, who only serves your agendas, and who do not exactly talk in the manner of feminists. So you do give spaces and do give places to them, because, well, they are speaking your language. You will give the space to them. Another thing, we were talking about the culture and how the labor rate participation and how the scenarios have not been changed. Likewise, some of the speakers have said that we could not even use the word rape in the 90s or in the 80s. So I would say the scenario has not changed much yet. We know that there are many feminist advisors in the cabinet, but the advisors are not strong enough to call themselves feminists out loud in the public, right? They do not acknowledge them as feminists. How sad, how disappointing this could be for women like us, for your generation like us. We have known throughout our years, throughout the birth of mine, that we have known them as feminists, but they are not acting like feminists. They are not even acknowledging themselves as feminists now. So the culture, the societal pressure that you guys are talking about, the education system has completely broken. The schools, the kindergartens, the high schools, the madrasas, if you go to the rural areas, the education system has completely broken by Awami League throughout the last 15 years. So if you want women to come forward, if you want women to talk and stay vocal and be active on politics, you need to build those educational institutions. You need to go to the rural areas and talk to the actual, and women are more feminist than this elite AC air-conditioned room, and rather than in the rural areas, rather than in the paddy fields, rather than in the garment factories, rather than in the eat bhatas. I believe that those women are more feminist than us who were sitting there. So other than questioning why I am here, you are here because for a cause, and please, for God's sake, try to implement the cause for why you are here. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you wanted to say something.
I'm in a rush of it.
Of course.
So, greater political participation. So, before telling like greater is a far cry in our real context. Can you hear me, please? Okay. So, the term greater is a far cry in our context. That's the reality, right? And we all are telling our own stories. That's really fascinating stories, but there is a proverb in English that why problem continues or sustains. The answer is we do not solve the right problem. We do solve the wrong problems. So in our context, every day we face numbers of issues, and mostly whenever it comes up with the politics and gender, we are aware of telling something, that's the good sign. That's the strength of moving forward with the collective voice. So in this regard, I must say one quick thing. Without changing the education, as the last person, sorry, I don't know the name exactly, Prapti, right? She rightly said, without education, without changing the education system, you cannot move forward. You will come backward and backward and backward. Only the education, His Excellency stated a very good example. In every index, why Norway, Sweden, Denmark, the Nordic states, posit first and second or third? Why? See the education. Only education. And parallelly, the population, sometimes we call it dividend, right? But it is also a burden also, we can say. The population we have right now is a burden, simply a burden. Some scholars say unnecessary population. The problem is coming from the surface, is mostly coming from the people having very ordinary level. And education level, if you judge, then the education level is not that satisfactory, or to that extent he or she should have. So I must say, if we want to go together, without going together, or without boosting up the male portion of the population, it will not work out. So one commitment should be, we should go up collectively and coordinated in a coordinated format. So for this, we need to pressurize the politicians, as few politicians are there. So I must point towards them. So think and rethink and reshape the educational system in Bangladesh. It can never go as we have right now. This will not give you any empowerment of any single citizen. It is not giving the right to the female is a far cry. Even the male will not get their justice, the education we have right now. So education, education, and education. If we talk it repeatedly, then definitely we'll solve the right problem, not the wrong problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sakiba, did you want to?
Excuse me, my name is Abid. I'm a teacher of University of Liberal Arts. Here is a question from my student.
Thank you. Hello everyone, this is Taran and I'm a student from University of Liberal Arts, Bangladesh. So this is the first time that I'm attending such a roundtable discussion. I have seen so many roundtable discussions on TV, so I'm a bit underconfident of whether I'm gonna talk on, but I'm gonna ask a few questions. Before asking, I have some words to share. So we all know the recent scenario of Bangladesh. I mean, every morning you wake up, you hear a news on a girl being raped, and this is a regular basis thing. And আজকেও যখন এখানে আসছি আমি একটা নিউজ দেখে আসলাম যে গুলিয়াখালীতে একজন rape হয়েছেন. I don't know if that is a verified news or not, but I haven't seen a single report or news on a rapist being caught or punished. মানে ফেক নিউজ হলেও হয়তো বা মনকে একটা সান্ত্বনা দেয়া যেত যে না অন্যায়ের বিচার তো হচ্ছে পাশাপাশি, বাট সেটা দেখছি না. So my question is, how can we expect women to feel confident enough to get into politics when she doesn't feel confident or she doesn't feel safe in her own country? I'm sorry, but this is very frustrating and disappointing, because when rapists are walking free and the victims are left unheard, how can we expect women to take leadership roles? So I think before talking about empowerment, I think we should ensure safety, we should ensure justice and accountability for the women of our country. That's more important. And lastly, sorry, but how many roundtable discussions should take place to come up with an actual solution where we actually see a result, an actual result. So that's my question. I don't know if I should expect an answer, because I know there will be a lot of answers, but in the biggest scenario, etar poriborton thik kototuku ashbe, I don't know, but still I'm asking this to everyone. And thank you.
Thank you. We will get your answer. জি ভাই বলুন।
আমিও বাংলায় বলি, মানে মিডিয়ার প্রথমেই আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাই আমাকে আমন্ত্রণ জানানোর জন্য। দ্বিতীয়ত হচ্ছে যে এতক্ষণ যে আলোচনা হয়েছে তার আমি বেশিরভাগের সাথে আমি একমত, কিংবা আমার আলাদা করে বিশেষ কোনো অবস্থান নেই। আমাদের দলের পক্ষ থেকে দু একটা অবজারভেশন শুধু বলি। একটা তো হচ্ছে যে আলোচনাটা হয়েছে যে সামাজিক, অর্থনৈতিক, এমনকি পারিবারিক প্রেক্ষাপটে নারী অবস্থান এবং সেখান থেকে তারা রাজনৈতিক কাজে অংশ নেওয়ার প্রশ্ন, অনেক বাধা আছে সেখানে। এখন সেই বাধার জায়গাগুলো দূর না করে কেবলমাত্র রাজনীতির ক্ষেত্রে যদি আমরা কিছু ব্যবস্থা করিও, তখন সেটা আসলে ওই টোকেনিজমের মধ্যেই পড়ে যায়। তো সেই বাধাগুলো দূর করতে হবে। সম্ভবত 1-2 দিনের মধ্যে ডেইলি স্টার একটা নিউজ এসছে, আপনারা দেখেছেন, যে আনপেইড হাউস হোল্ড এন্ড মানে কেয়ার গিভিং ওয়ার্কের জন্য মানে নারীকে 7 টাইমস মোর করতে হচ্ছে। তো সেইটা তো একটা বড় ব্যাপার, এবং এটা আনরেকগনাইজড। তো লেবার তো তাদের যায়, সেই পরিবর্তনগুলো খুব জরুরি প্রসঙ্গ। মানে এটা যদি না হয় তাহলে একই সাথে সুপার উইমেন আসলেই ভোর 6টা থেকে রাত ধরে কাজ করতে হবে। সেটাই হয়তো এখনো যারা করছেন তাদের করতে হচ্ছে, এটা একটা বাস্তবতা। ফলে রাজনীতিতে নারীর অংশগ্রহণের প্রশ্নটা বৃহত্তর সামাজিক প্রেক্ষাপটের অন্যান্য বদলগুলো ছাড়াই ঘটবে, এটার কোনো আসলে সম্ভাবনা নাই। সেই দিক থেকে এটা একটা কম্প্রিহেন্সিভ পলিসির ব্যাপার। আমরা যদিও রাজনীতিতে অংশগ্রহণের স্পেসিফিক বিষয় নিয়ে আলোচনা করছি, কিন্তু বারে বারেই কম্প্রিহেন্সিভলি ওই জায়গাটা আসছে বৃহত্তর প্রেক্ষাপটটা, যে বৃহত্তর প্রেক্ষাপটে এখন সবচেয়ে বেশি আলোচিত হচ্ছে যে শিশুরা পর্যন্ত রেপড হচ্ছে। এবং আজকের আলোচনা মানে আমার মনে হয় যে রাজনীতির অংশগ্রহণের চাইতে নারীর নিরাপত্তা, রেপ, এটাই বড় হয়ে উঠছে, কারণ বাস্তবতাটা সেটাই। এবং জুলাই অভ্যুত্থান যেভাবে নারীর অংশগ্রহণের মধ্যে দিয়ে একটা বলবো যে সার্বজনীন, সার্বিক কিংবা অল এমব্রেসিং হয়েছিল, সেটা অভ্যুত্থানের বিজয়ের পরই এক ধরনের মানে অর্থাৎ একটা যে সরকারের বিরুদ্ধে লড়াই করছিল সেই সরকার পতন হওয়ার পরেই আবার দেখা যাচ্ছে যে ধরনের শক্তি সমাবেশ সমাজে সংগঠিত হচ্ছে, সেটা নারীর ওই মুহূর্তের মোমেন্টাল যে স্পেসটা দখল করেছিল সেটার পক্ষে না। এবং রাজনৈতিক স্পেসটা যারা দখল করছে তারা বরং ওই মোমেন্টটাকে নাই করে দিতে চায়। মোমেন্টের কি বলে যে একটা কৌশলগত কাজে লাগে কিংবা ব্যবহার, সেটা তারা করতে রাজি। মানে অভ্যুত্থান করার জন্য ওই রকমই একটা উত্থান দরকার হয় যেখানে নারী পুরুষের সম্মিলিত অংশগ্রহণ লাগে, কিন্তু অভ্যুত্থান শেষ হয়ে যাওয়ার পরপরই নারী আবার জায়গা মতো ফেরত চলে যাও, সেটাই কাঙ্ক্ষিত হয়ে ওঠে, অথবা সেটাই তাদের ইডিওলজিক্যাল এবং পলিটিক্যাল অবস্থান। এখন এটাই একটা দ্বন্দ্বটা লাগছে আর কি, যে তুমি যেখানে এসছো। যেমন একটা খুব গুরুত্বপূর্ণ প্রশ্ন উঠেছে যে অভ্যুত্থানের সময়, মিছিলের সময় তখন তো কে কোন পোশাক পরেছিল সেই প্রশ্ন ওঠে নাই, এখন কেন উঠছে? তাহলে এই ওঠার ব্যাপারটাই আসছে এই কারণে যে মানে পলিটিক্সের তার জায়গা থেকে ওই মুহূর্তটা কাজে লাগবে, যে আচ্ছা সরকার ফেলতে হলে তো সবাইকেই লাগবে, সুতরাং এখন আপাতত চুপ থাকো, দেন যখন সরকার পড়ে গেল এখন আবার যার যার নিজের এজেন্ডা নিয়ে হাজির হও, সেই জায়গাটা আসছে। এখন এইখানে একটা বড় সমস্যার জায়গা হচ্ছে ডেমোক্রেসি নিয়ে। ডেমোক্রেসির মধ্যে তো ধরেন এই পপুলিজমের একটা মানে ঝোঁক থাকেই এবং সুযোগ থাকে, এবং যে কারণে মুশকিল হয়ে পড়ে যে ইভেন মানে ধরুন বড় দলগুলো, যেমন এখানে শামা ওয়াহেদ আছেন যিনি বিএনপির অর্গানাইজিং সেক্রেটারি, কিন্তু বিএনপিতে যে নারী নেতৃত্ব আছে কিংবা আওয়ামী লীগে কিংবা অন্য বড় দলগুলো, যে কোনো বড় দলের ক্ষেত্রে প্রযোজ্য, তারা কি নারী প্রশ্ন নিয়ে আসলে লড়াই করতে করতে সেই দলে কোনো জায়গা করেন? সেটা করার সুযোগটা আসলে থাকে না, কারণ নারী প্রশ্ন উঠলেই একটা মানে মেজরিটেরিয়ান এবং পপুলিস্ট যে পজিশন, সেটার সাথে একটা ধাক্কাধাক্কি লাগে, এবং ওই ধাক্কাধাক্কি করে জায়গা পাওয়াটা খুব মুশকিল হবে, পার্টি আবার তাকে কর্নার করে ফেলবে। সুতরাং ওই জায়গাটা একটা বড় ঝুঁকির জায়গা। আমাদের এখানে এইটা হয়ে উঠেছে কিছু নারী সংগঠন অথবা একটু যারা মানে লেফট পলিটিক্স করেন তারাই হয়তো নারী প্রশ্নটা নিয়ে কাজ করবেন। বাকি নারী প্রশ্ন কিন্তু রাজনীতির মধ্যে কোনো এজেন্ডা না, ওভারঅল আচ্ছা নারীর কিছু কল্যাণ করতে হবে ইত্যাদি একটা জায়গায় থাকে। তো আমি মনে হয় যে ডেমোক্রেসির এই পপুলিস্ট ঝোঁকটার যে ইনবিল্ট অবস্থার লিমিটেশনস কিংবা এটা যে একটা ঝুঁকি, সেটা কিভাবে মোকাবেলা হবে আমাদের ভবিষ্যৎ রাজনীতিতে, যেটার সাথে আমি মনে করি যে আমরা মনে করি নারীর, শুধু নারীর প্রশ্ন না, অন্য যে সমস্ত প্রশ্নই আমরা তুলছি, অন্যান্য মাইনরিটির সমস্ত প্রশ্নগুলো, সেইগুলো খুব গভীরভাবে যুক্ত। কারণ মেজরিটেরিয়ান পলিটিক্সেরই একটা উত্থান দুনিয়াব্যাপী, ডেমোক্রেসির কাঠামোর মধ্যে যুক্তরাষ্ট্র থেকে শুরু করে ইউরোপ ব্যাপী, এমনকি আমাদের পাশের দেশ ভারতে আমরা যে উত্থানটা দেখেছি সেটার ঢেউ তো বাংলাদেশেও আছে। ফলে ওই মেজরিটেরিয়ান পলিটিক্সের জায়গা থেকে নারীর অংশগ্রহণের জায়গাটাকে অনেক সংকুচিত করা হচ্ছে। তো আইডিওলজিক্যাল অনেকগুলো জায়গা আছে, সবকিছু যা ঘটনা ঘটছে সব নারীরই দোষ, মানে তাকে আগে ভিকটিম কিংবা তাকে এটার কজ আকারে হাজির করে পুরো ব্যাপারটা রেপ থেকে শুরু করে যত ধরনের জায়গা, নিশ্চয়ই মেয়েটার মধ্যেই সমস্যা ছিল, সুতরাং সেই কারণেই ঘটনাটা ঘটেছে। এখন এইটার লড়াইটা যেভাবে মানে ধর্ম, রাজনীতি এবং সামাজিক পরিসরে সংস্কৃতির মধ্যে আছে, এই কম্প্রিহেন্সিভ লড়াইয়ের জায়গা আমাদের নতুন করে সংগঠিত করা দরকার। এবং সেইটার ঘটার শুরুটা কোথা থেকে হতে পারে? এক তো হচ্ছে অ্যাট অ্যান অর্গানাইজেশন লেভেল আমরা মনে করি যে যত বেশি রিয়েল পার্টিসিপেশন ঘটবে, ক্লেইমটা মানে রিয়েল হওয়া দরকার। এটা কেউ দিয়ে দেওয়ার প্রসঙ্গ না, মানে গঠনতন্ত্রে কিংবা ইয়েতে লেখা থাকলো কিন্তু জায়গা ফুলফিল করার যদি না আসে কেউ, তাহলে সেই জায়গাটা হবে না, এবং বরং এই ক্লেইমটা সামনে আনা দরকার। রাষ্ট্রের ক্ষেত্রে তো একেবারে পরিবর্তনগুলোকে খুবই জোরালোভাবে করে এবং এফেক্টিভ করার জন্য ওই চাপটা তৈরি করার জায়গাতে অর্গানাইজেশনটাকে নিয়ে যাওয়া দরকার। ফলে পলিটিক্যাল অর্গানাইজেশনগুলোতে কত উইমেন পার্টিসিপেশন ঘটছে, কতটা ক্লেইম তাদের আসছে এবং নেতৃত্বের ক্লেইম আসছে, যেটা আসলে রাষ্ট্রের আইনগুলোর পরিবর্তনের ক্ষেত্রে সত্যিকার অর্থে একটা জায়গা তৈরি করবে। যেটা ধরুন আমরা আমাদের দলের দিক থেকে প্রস্তাব করেছি অ্যাটলিস্ট 50 ডিরেক্ট ইলেকশন, কারণ এই টোকেনিজম আর এই এটা করার বদলে ডাইরেক্ট ইলেকশন। তো ডাইরেক্ট ইলেকশনে আমরা যেটা অ্যাটলিস্ট 50 বলেছি, যেখানে 100-এর প্রস্তাব আছে মানে রিফর্ম কমিশনের দিক থেকেই। আমাদের একটা জায়গা ছিল যে এইবারে যদি ডিলিমিটেশন করতে হয় আবার প্রত্যেকটা কনস্টিটিউয়েন্সি, তাহলে এটা অনেক সমস্যা সংকটের জন্ম দিতে পারে। ফলে যদি মানে প্রাথমিকভাবে 50-তে শুরু হয়, এটা হয়তো আমাদের পরিবর্তনে কনস্টিটিউশন চেঞ্জের মধ্যে দিয়ে হয়তো 100 কিংবা ইভেন পার্লামেন্টের চেহারা কি হবে সেটা একটা বড় ডিবেটের প্রশ্ন সামনে আসবে। কিন্তু এটা করা সম্ভব রোটেশন বেসিসে। 300 আসনের মধ্যে প্রথমবারে হয়তো 1 থেকে 50, দ্বিতীয়বারে 50 থেকে 100, এভাবে 6 বারে রোটেশনে নারীর আসনগুলো এটা নারীর জন্য নির্দিষ্ট থাকবে নারী আসন হিসেবে। সেখানে অল পলিটিক্যাল পার্টি তাদের উইমেন ক্যান্ডিডেট নমিনেট করবে। ফলে সাইক্লিক অর্ডারের 300 আসনেই একসময় নারী নেতৃত্ব পলিটিক্যাল এই ডায়নামিক্সের ভেতর দিয়ে, অর্থাৎ কমপ্লেক্স ডায়নামিক্স, যেটা আসলে রিয়েল পলিটিক কিন্তু ইয়ে নয়, মানে যাকে বলে যে কেবল ডিসকাশনের ব্যাপার নয়, সেই জায়গার ভেতর দিয়ে উঠে আসার জায়গাটা এখানে তৈরি হবে। এবং এইটার দিক থেকে রাষ্ট্রের পরিবর্তনটা খুব জরুরি। একদিকে ক্লেইম, অন্যদিকে রাষ্ট্রের পরিবর্তন, দুটোকে যদি আমরা মেলাতে পারি হয়তোবা আমরা অনেক দূর এগোতে পারবো। ধন্যবাদ আপনাকে।
ধন্যবাদ সাকিব ভাই। আমাদের এখানে I think some people have to leave. Madihapa, if you wanted to just tell us a few words.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me. I'll just say a few words. You know, a lot of what number of speakers have talked about is education and the role that education can play in moving forward our feminist agenda. One thing I want to say, I 100% agree that our education system and the structure of it is a problem and needs to be addressed. I also want to just highlight that it's not only just the education system, but also the content of what is taught. That's very important for us to keep an eye on. And politicians who are here, journalists who are here, you have a big microphone in front of you. I hope you will utilize it to ensure that the content of education pushes our feminist agenda forward and that it doesn't undermine it. What I mean is, you know, curriculum to some extent kind of sets the standard for what is acceptable in a society, what is normal in a society. And it delineates how citizens are meant to behave and what their expectations are and what the standards are. To that extent, the content of curriculum is often a political battleground in many countries around the world, including ours. It continues to be a political battleground, and it's something that we have to keep an eye on to make sure that that content is not changed in order to undermine our agenda. It's something that all of us, I think, have to keep an eye on. Thank you.
Thank you. Alishapa, of course.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thanks to Dhaka Tribune and Norwegian Embassy. I think I would like to reflect on realities a little bit. And this moment, it reminds me a quote by Vladimir Lenin. Freedom in capitalistic society always remain about the same as it was in ancient Roman Greek republic. And what was that, if we all remember? Freedom for the slave owners. Yes, I feel like women have been the modern day slaves of systematic oppression. It's unfortunate that again for political instability and ideological conflicts, once again women is at risk. It's always the women. So why I said I will talk about reality a little bit. Everyone has said where we stand right now, all this political unrest and how women are always been victimized. I don't feel safe anymore even driving. Before I used to feel like I'm safe in the car, but now anyone can point a gun at me and say, hey, give me your car. So I want to talk about how can we move forward? I mean, the question is, where do we go from here? I mean, how does this conversation will materialize into tangible action? The only thing I can say, men must step up. I think only women will not be suffice. And also, as today's topic, the power of women from uprising greater political participation, it's quite a vast and complex one. So I just want to feel like how I can take responsibility. I'm not going to depend on the system, because I was hopeful when Dr. Yunus, sir, has declared that if you do not allow me to materialize my plan, I will quit. So I felt that's it. Bangladesh is right now on the map where we should be, because we have actually come so far when it comes to women empowerment. Of course, we have our trouble and so much more shoes to fill. But it saddens me that we are again going back and talking about how women should be allowed to, the way they should dress, the way, or where they should go, or if even they are allowed to work. I launched Hairnet Television in 2018 as a first television in Asia for working for women empowerment. Why? To challenge the mainstream media narratives. Because during those times, women empowerment, gender's right, or transgender's right were not mainstream that much. And all these 7 years of work, I think we have again gone back to where we were. But I'm not surprised, because I have somehow foreseen this. I remember writing few articles, few of the English newspaper, where many even opposed me. No, I think I cannot publish, because I have seen what's happening today. Like, I knew this, how this unrest going to spiral into this extremism idea, how I said that I will have a place, we live in Gulshan too. It's supposed to be the most safe, secured neighborhood. I say there might be, some dakati will go on. People will come and loot. That's happening. I realize that women will not be safe in the vehicles anymore. Why? Because history repeats itself. We call it the Arab Spring, or I can bring example from Libya to Tunisia to, everything is going on the way it was supposed to be. So how we can stop? I say all of us can take our own lead. I want to mentor, let's say, 3 girls. You can mentor 3 girls. You can mentor 3 girls. And also, as we have some institution for education, I think we can teach self-defense to each and every student, or even in garments, because we are talking about solving the immediate problem. I'm not going to go into the detail how we can change the political scenario and the economic power, how is that important. So I believe every one of you has an institution and voice. Perhaps we can promote self-defense right now and also ask the men to rally behind this cause. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because lastly, Karl Marx says how you can see if the society has really progressed when you see where the women are there in the society. We see we are nowhere there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Aishapa, very sorry.
I'd just like to mention one thing. It was mentioned somewhere that we're not questioning, people aren't questioning this government, aren't questioning the commissions. But I beg to differ over there, because I think after 15 years of being suppressed, silenced, and gagged, right now we've opened the sluice gates and we are aggressively questioning the government. We're aggressively questioning the commissions. We're not against them, we're not for them, we are questioning them. When these incidents of harassment of women, violence against women, rape are happening, we are questioning their response, their statements, their narratives, definitely. So coming to political participation, I think media is very much a part of the political machinery of participation, because political participation doesn't just mean political parties. I think every one of us are political animals, so media has a huge role to play here. And when it comes to women's participation, definitely, because you see, media has long been, and when I say media, I'm not meaning just newspapers or, the online news media. I'm meaning the cinema, the plays, the everything, the cultural side too. We've been projecting women in a very wrong light. Very wrong light, idealizing certain roles for women and all. So media has a very, very strong role here in projecting women's role in politics, in society as a whole. So I think when we talk about political participation, it's come high time now to, sort of tell people that don't relegate us to the role of ma, bon, like you are our sisters, you are our mothers. The men are saying that you are our sisters. We're not your sisters, we're not your mothers. We're your colleagues, we are your compatriots, we are your friends, maybe we are your seniors, we are your juniors. We're not your sisters or mothers. So, certain things we have to change. I didn't even like once, I remember during, it was Awami League BNP's time, there was always this big conflict between Sheikh Hasina and Khaleda Zia, and The Economist, which is an English magazine, they had an article, it was called The Bickering Begums. Horrible. It just makes women like these two bickering women. These are two I don't like Sheikh Hasina, and I don't know, Khaleda Zia has her strengths and weaknesses, but they were both very powerful political women. You can't relegate them to bickering begums. I didn't like that. So over here, media has to play a very responsible role in projecting women so that to encourage women to go into politics. And you mentioned about mentoring girls, definitely. Mentoring boys too. Because men or boys need to be sensitized, and media can play a role here. That's about what I have to say now.
Thank you, Shaba.
I think we talked a lot about mindset change and culture, but the onus of dismantling patriarchy cannot be on women and girls and the women's movement. All structures in society have to play that role.
Of course. One thing, yeah. Appa reminded me one thing that I noted here, but forgot to tell that. You know how minds are shaped, especially in rural areas in 80s and 90s. I'm not sure if it happened later in 2000 in Bangla cinema. Whenever villain is sort of trying to harass a woman, she's replying, "Tor ghore ki ma bon nai." So it says that men are taught to only respect their mothers and their sisters, but all the other women's, they are within their reach, within their grasp.
Yeah.
And another thing I would like to add, that as a female teacher, I always see it coming from different quarters, and some people may be quite hurt or instigated seeing this point, that all my male colleagues are immediately called sir, but us female teachers are called appa. And I asked several people that why do you do that, and they said, "Oh, appa bolle onek kacher mone hoy." And I said, I'm the first of my batch. I'm not here I'm just not taken in the position. I deserved it, and therefore I'm a teacher. So I don't want to be your clothes. I am a madam.
Yeah, they don't respect your position of power.
No, they don't respect my position of power.
Exactly.
They don't call a man a bhai. I'm saying that if you call me appa, fine, then call my male colleague as a bhai. They don't do that, but it's very easy to call a woman appa. She doesn't need to be given importance, respected, because this is something I cannot say enough. People do not like hearing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, Aishapa.
And I just want to say that women can be as misogynist as men, and a man can be as much a feminist as a woman, if they want to be.
Rakul Bhai?
Okay. Thank you for having me here. It is a great privilege, honor to stand before you on the today's special occasion of International Women's Day. If you permit, can I speak in Bengali, because a lot of people are here in Bengali, a lot of journalists, so that I can engage very easily. Okay, আমি আসলে সবার বক্তব্যই শুনছিলাম। মোটামুটি সবার এখানে অনেক কনস্ট্রাকটিভ আলোচনা আসছে। আমি একটু কিছু জিনিস অ্যাড্রেস করতে চাই। শুরুতে আমরা যদি আমাদের জুলাই আগস্টের যে গণ অভ্যুত্থানটি আমরা দেখেছি, সেখানে আমাদের মোর দেন 60% পিপল আর লেডিস, বাট এখানে আমাদের পরবর্তী সময়ে যে বাস্তবতায় আমরা দেখেছিলাম, এখানে ফার্স্টে ফিমেল যারা স্টুডেন্টস তারা খুব ভালোভাবে অনলাইন এবং অফলাইন দুটাতে ভালো এঙ্গেজ করেছিল, কিন্তু পরবর্তী সময়ে আমরা তাদের খুব বেশি অ্যাক্টিভ পার্টিসিপেশন আমরা দেখিনি। তো আসলে আমাদের বাংলাদেশি কনটেক্সটে শুধুমাত্র গ্রেটার পলিটিক্যাল পার্টিসিপেশন নট অনলি ফর উইমেন, আমাদের উইমেনদের একটি বিশাল কন্ট্রিবিউশন আমাদের ডেভেলপমেন্ট এবং ন্যাশন বিল্ডিংয়ে রয়েছে। আমরা যদি একটু খেয়াল করি, আমাদের মোর দেন 52% পিপল আর লেডি, আমাদের গার্মেন্টস ওয়ার্কিংয়ে 80% পিপল আর লেডি, এটা ডিক্লাইনিং। এখন উনি ডক্টর ফাহমিদা তিনি বলেছেন এটা 60% নেমে এসেছে। আমরা যদি দেখি আমাদের ইমিগ্রেশন ওয়ার্কিংও আমরা বাড়ছে, এবং আমাদের ইমিগ্রেশনে অন অ্যান অ্যাভারেজ আমাদের বছরে 21 থেকে 22 বিলিয়ন ডলার আমাদের আসে, তার মধ্যে $2 বিলিয়ন তারা কন্ট্রিবিউট করে। ইভেন আমাদের যদি আপনি দেখেন, আমাদের মাইক্রো ফিন্যান্স যারা আমাদের ব্র্যাক এবং গ্রামীণ ব্যাংক সহকারে যারা এখানে ক্ষুদ্র ঋণ যারা তারা নিয়েছে, তারাও সেখানে বেশিরভাগ ফিমেল কর্মী, এবং তাদেরকে আমরা অ্যাক্টিভলি পার্টিসিপেশন রোল প্লে করেছি। আর আমি এখন একটু আসলে 5ই আগস্ট পরবর্তী বাস্তবতা কিছু কথা বলতে চাই। সেটা হচ্ছে, দেখুন আমাদের এখানে বিএনপির 2জন ফিমেল লিডার রয়েছেন, শামা আপা রয়েছেন, রুমিন আপা চলে গিয়েছেন। আমরা আসলে যেটা বলছে যে তারা আসলে ফ্যামিলি প্যাট্রোনাইজ থেকে, আসলে ফ্যামিলি প্যাট্রোনাইজ হলে যে পলিটিক্যালি আপনি ভালো করবেন, এটা আসলে ট্রু না। আমাদের যদি দেখেন, আমাদের কান্ট্রি হিস্ট্রিতে দেখেন, আমাদের 90-র স্বৈরাচার গণতন্ত্রের পরবর্তী সময়ে আমাদের ফার্স্ট ফিমেল লেডি বেগম খালেদা জিয়া, এবং অপোজিশন ছিল পতিত স্বৈরশাসক শেখ হাসিনা, এবং একজন খালেদা জিয়া কিন্তু এভাবে উঠে আসেনি। সেই গৃহবধূ থেকে খালেদা জিয়া উঠে আসার যে বিশাল সংগ্রামী যে অধ্যায়, সেটাও আসলে আমাদেরকে অ্যাড্রেস করতে হবে। আর আমাদের বিষয়ের উপরে দেখেন, আমাদের যে কান্ট্রি বাস্তবতা এবং আমাদের সোশিও ইকোনমিক বাস্তবতা, রিলিজিয়াস বাস্তবতায় আপনি যদি লক্ষ্য করেন, আমাদের যে ফিমেলকে, আমি একজন মেডিকেল ডক্টর, আমি একটু আমার সেক্টরে একটু জিনিস অ্যাড্রেস করতে চাই। দেখেন আমাদের যখন মেডিকেল স্টুডেন্টে আমরা যখন এডমিশন হই তখন আমাদের মোর দেন 60% পিপল আর লেডিস, বাট আমরা যখন হায়ার স্টাডিজে দেখি তখন সেটা নেমে আসে মাত্র 30%-এ। ইভেন আমাদের মেডিকেলের টোটাল সিস্টেম হচ্ছে পাস অ্যান্ড ফেল, এখানে আসলে অন্য কোনো মার্কিং করা হয় না, কিন্তু আমাদের ইন্টারনাল যে পরীক্ষাগুলো যে মার্কিং করা হয় সেখানে আমাদের টপ 10-এ 8 জনই থাকে ফিমেল লেডিস। তো আমরা যখন এটা একটু রিসার্চ করলাম আমাদের অর্গানাইজেশনের থ্রুতে যে কেন তারা হায়ার এডুকেশনে কোপ আপ করতে পারছে না, তো সেটা আমরা যখন দেখছি তখন সেটা দেখি যে একজন নারীর যে বাস্তবতা জীবন, তার সংসার, তার বাচ্চা কাচ্চা, তার অ্যাকোমোডেশনে, ইভেন একজন ডক্টর হয়ে আমাদের কান্ট্রির একজন ফার্স্ট ক্লাস সিটিজেন হয়েও সে তার ওয়ার্ক প্লেসে সে ফিল করে না। আপনি যদি দেখেন আমাদের হায়ার এডুকেশনে যে আইসোলেটেড দুটা সেক্টর, গাইনোকোলজি অ্যান্ড অবস্টেট্রিক্স অ্যান্ড পেডিয়াট্রিক্সে ফিমেলদের আধিক্যতা দেখা যায়। এর বাইরে ফিমেলরা শুধু চয়েস করে স্কিন অ্যান্ড বিড, ভেনারোলজি, তারপরে হচ্ছে রেডিয়েশন, রেডিওলজি বা অন্যান্য বেসিক সাবজেক্ট। কারণ হচ্ছে কি সেখানে আপনার কোনো নাইট করতে হয় না, সেখানে কোনো ইভিনিং করতে হয় না, সেখানে কোনো ইমার্জেন্সি ডিউটি করতে হয় না, তার মানে সে তার ওয়ার্ক প্লেসে এখনো পর্যন্ত সেফ না। আর আমরা যে আজকে সেই পলিটিক্যাল পার্টিসিপেশনের কথা বলছি, আমরা আসলে তাদেরকে সেফ প্লেসটা দিতে পারছি না। এবং সেফ প্লেস কেন দিতে পারছি না সেটার যে মূল কারণ, সেই মূল কারণ হচ্ছে কি আমাদের এডুকেশনের যথেষ্ট পরিমাণে অভাব। আমরা যে ডেমোক্রেটিক প্র্যাকটিসের কথা বলি, ডেমোক্রেসি প্র্যাকটিসটা যে ডেমোক্রেসির মাধ্যমে যে সিভিলাইজেশনের যে সভ্য হওয়া, সেটা আসলে দিনের ব্যাপার না। আমরা যে এখানে আজকে নরওয়েজিয়ান এম্বাসি কিংবা নর্ডিক ডে কিংবা ফার্স্ট ওয়ার্ল্ড কান্ট্রি যে দেশগুলো দেখি, সেগুলো আপনি দেখেন এগুলো কিন্তু গণতান্ত্রিক হয়ে উঠেছে 200, 300, 400, 500 বছরের সংগ্রামের পরে। ইভেন আমাদের যে কালেক্টিভ যে কান্ট্রি সিস্টেম, যে কান্ট্রির রাষ্ট্র ব্যবস্থা, সেটা কিন্তু দিনে দিনে গড়ে ওঠে না। সুতরাং ডেমোক্রেসি একটা স্লো প্রসেস। এবং আপনি দেখেন আজকে যদি কাল ধরুন বাংলাদেশ খুব আপগ্রেড হয়ে সব 5 স্টার হোটেল বানিয়ে ফেলেছেন আপনি, কিন্তু কালকে একটা ভূমিকম্প সব 10 নেমে ফেললো, এবং এই যে ইকোনমিক আমাদের ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার সেটা যে কোনো মুহূর্তে আপনার 10 নামতে পারে, কিন্তু কান্ট্রির একটা যে বেসিক জায়গা, সেই বেসিক জায়গা আমরা অ্যাড্রেস করছি না। সেই বেসিক জায়গাটি হচ্ছে কি আমাদের, আপনি দেখেন আমরা কিন্তু কালচার এবং এডুকেশনে আমরা কিন্তু সেভাবে পোর্ট্রে করছি না। কিছুক্ষণ আগে জায়মা আপা এখানে বলেছেন যে যদি আমরা সেই অ্যাডভোকেসির মাধ্যমে যদি কোনো কাজই না হতো, তাহলে এই দেশগুলো তো এখানে সেই এত বছর পর বছর এখানে সেই আমাদের হিউম্যানিটারি এইড বা অন্য কোনো প্রসেসে আমাদেরকে ইনভেস্টমেন্ট করতো না। আমি এক্সেলেন্সি সারা কুককে আমি এক যুগ আগে থেকে চিনি, তিনি যখন ইউকের প্রধান ছিল এখানে। আপনি দেখেন আমাদের কিন্তু এইডসের যে সচেতনতা তৈরি হয়েছে, একটা সময় আমাদের এরকম একটা ভেরিয়ার ছিল যে এইডস রোগী মানে তাকে ধরা ছোঁয়া যাবে না, কিন্তু এইডস তো আসলে ধরা ছোঁয়ার মাধ্যমে ছড়ায় না। তো আমাদের সেই কাউন্সিলিং প্রসেসগুলো তৈরি হয়েছে। আপনি দেখেন এই যে ইউনিসেফ যে তার হাত ধোয়া প্রসেস কিংবা যে মিনা কার্টুনের মাধ্যমে আমাদেরকে শিখিয়েছে যে আসলে কিভাবে এখানে সেলফ প্রোটেকশন দিতে হয়। এখানে আসলে আপনি যদি দেখেন তারা কিভাবে হাত ধোয়া শিখিয়েছে, তারা কিভাবে আপনার দাঁত মাজা শিখিয়েছে। তো সেই অ্যাডভোকেসি প্রসেসটা কিন্তু আপনাদেরকে আমাদের রুট লেভেলে কান্ট্রিকে ভাবতে হবে। আপনি যদি দেখেন এই যে একটা সময় খুব বেশি দিন আগের ঘটনা না, যেখানে আসলে দেখেন মহিলাদের যে মেনস্ট্রুয়েশন প্রসেসের যে প্যাডিং সিস্টেমটা, সেটা নিয়েও আসলে অনেক সমাজ অন্যভাবে দেখতো, কিন্তু আজ দেখেন এটা কিন্তু মোটামুটি একটা নর্মালাইজ প্রসেসে চলে আসছে।
বইমেলায় কি হইলো?
বইমেলা সেটা আমি সে প্রসঙ্গ আসছি। আপনি দেখেন সেখানে কি হলো, আপনি দেখেন আমাদের যে ধর্ম এবং রাষ্ট্র ব্যবস্থা দুটা কিন্তু দুই জিনিস। ধর্ম বলে যে তুমি সেটা করো, রাষ্ট্র ব্যবস্থা বলছে তুমি সেটা করবা না, তোমার সেটাকে অব্লিগেশন করতে হবে। এবং আমাদের রাষ্ট্র ব্যবস্থা যদি সে জায়গায় স্ট্রং প্রোটেকশন রুল প্লে না করতে পারে, যে আপনি দেখেন আমাদের এই যে রেপ কেসের ঘটনা কিন্তু বাড়তেছে। কেন বাড়তেছে? কারণ আপনি তাদের বিচার ব্যবস্থা করতে পারতেছেন না। এই যে একজন আলোচক এখানে বলেছেন যে রেপিস্টটা ঘুরে বেড়াচ্ছে, তো আপনি যদি কান্ট্রি যদি ল এনফোর্সমেন্ট জারি না করতে পারে, তাহলে সেই কান্ট্রি তো আর কান্ট্রির ব্যবস্থার সাথে থাকে না। তো আসলে আমাদের এই রাষ্ট্র ব্যবস্থায় আমি যেটা মনে করি সেটা হচ্ছে কি আসলে আমাদের উইমেনদেরকে পলিটিক্যাল পার্টিসিপেশন করার আগে আমাদের মাইন্ডসেটটা ডেভেলপ করতে হবে। আপনি দেখেন আমি পার্সোনাল কিছু এক্সপিরিয়েন্সের কথা বলি। ধরুন আমি গত অক্টোবরে আমি কাতারের আমিরের একটা প্রোগ্রামে গিয়েছিলাম। তো সেখানে আমি যখন দেখলাম যে ওদের 5-6 জন মিনিস্টার হচ্ছে ফিমেল, তা আমি ওদেরকে জিজ্ঞেস করলাম যে তোমাদের মতো একটা ইসলামিক কনজারভেটিভ কান্ট্রিতে সব ফিমেল মিনিস্টার দেখতেছি, ঘটনা কি? তখন তারা বলছে যে আসলে তারা তাদের মাইন্ডসেটটা আসলে এভাবে ডেভেলপ করেছে। যেখানে আমার খুব ক্লোজ ফ্রেন্ড ওদের সে সোশ্যাল ওয়েলফেয়ার মিনিস্টার ছিল, সে এখন ফরেন মিনিস্ট্রি কাতারে। তো তারা আসলে বলছে যে তাদেরকে আসলে মাইন্ডসেটটা আসলে জরুরি। আপনার ধর্ম আপনাকে বাধ্য করে না, কিন্তু কান্ট্রি সিভিলাইজেশনের মাধ্যমে আপনার কান্ট্রি এই প্রসেসে হাঁটছে। আপনি দেখেন আজকে আরব কান্ট্রি, তারা একটা সময় শুধুমাত্র তাদের তেল গ্যাসের উপর নির্ভরশীল ছিল, আজকে কেন তারা ট্যুরিজমকে প্রমোট করছে, কেন তারা এই কালচারাল এক্সচেঞ্জ প্রোগ্রামগুলোকে প্রমোট করছে। কিছুদিন আগে জামা আপা এই সেখানে দোয়া ফোরামে তিনি মডারেটর হিসেবে গেছেন, তিনি নিশ্চয় দেখে এসেছেন সেখানে যে অবস্থাগুলো। তো আমাদের আসলে কান্ট্রি পলিটিসিপেশনগুলো আসলে সেভাবে হওয়া উচিত। আপনি দেখেন এখানে 33% কোটা ম্যান্ডেটরি করা বলা হচ্ছে। আপনি দেখেন একজন নারী সে চাইলে কিন্তু ইজিলি কোপ আপ করতে পারে না। আমি যদি বললাম যে এই ফিমেলকে আমি আমার পলিটিক্যাল পার্টি হয়ে আমি তার আসনে আমি তাকে নমিনেট করতে চাই, কিন্তু আমার অ্যাকোমোডেশন যদি রুরাল গভর্নমেন্টে যদি তাকে সে ওয়েললি অ্যাকসেপ্ট না করে, সে পলিটিক্যাল মাইন্ড সেট আপ না থাকে, তাহলে সেখানে দাঁড়াতে পারবে না। তো সুতরাং আমাদের সেই মাঝের জায়গাটা হচ্ছে কি আসলে আমাদের সেই মাইন্ড সেট আপটা ডেভেলপ করা, এবং সেটার জন্য আমাদের সবচেয়ে বড় জরুরি হচ্ছে কি আমাদের ফার্স্টে পলিটিক্যাল যে এডুকেশন এবং পলিটিক্যাল সার্কামস্টেন্সে যেটা পলিটিক্যাল পার্টিগুলো তাদেরকে আগে অ্যাকোমোডেট করা, তাদেরকে সেভাবে কোপ আপ করা, এবং আমাদের এই শিক্ষা ব্যবস্থা সেটাকে জরুরি করা, কারণ আমাদের সিভিলাইজেশন হওয়ার জন্য আমাদের সেই কালচারকে গ্রো আপ করা, না হলে হাজারো হবে কি আমরা এই ওই হাসিনার মতো আমরা দেখানো উন্নয়নের মতো সেইটাও হারিয়ে যাবে। সুতরাং আমরা কিন্তু এই ঘটনার পর ঘটনা রাউন্ড টেবিলে করে যাবে, কিন্তু আলটিমেটলি কোনো কাজ আসবে না। আমি আশা করি এই বিষয়গুলো অ্যাড্রেস করা হবে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you. We're almost done. Ronak Jahan's going to just say a few words, and then Mariana, you can close it out.
আমি প্রথমে একটা আমি বাংলায় বলি একটা তথ্য দিতে চাই যে 1970 সালে যখন আমরা স্বাধীন হয়েছি তখন নারী ইউনিভার্সিটি ফিমেল উইমেন স্টুডেন্টসের নাম্বার ছিল 2000, মাত্র 2000 বাংলাদেশে। আমার মনে হয় এখন আমরা যদি দেখি তাহলে মনে হয় যদি ইউনিভার্সিটি উইমেন স্টুডেন্টস তাদের সংখ্যা নিশ্চয়ই 1 লাখের তো উপরে হবে, আরও বেশিও হয়তো হবে। কিন্তু যেটা আমি বলতে চাচ্ছি সেটা হচ্ছে যে মেয়েদের যে কনস্টিটিউয়েন্সি এবং স্টুডেন্টসের নাম্বার আগের থেকে আসলে অনেক মানে বেড়ে গেছে, এবং অনেকে আমার মনে হয় এইটা খেয়াল করে না। সবার শেষে আমি যেটা জায়মা যে কথাটা বলল এবং সেটার সূত্র ধরে আমি বলতে চাই দুটো কথা। একটা হচ্ছে আসলে কিন্তু আমরা অলরেডি একটা কালচার ওয়ারে এঙ্গেজড হয়ে গেছি জুলাই আপরাইজিংয়ের পরে, এবং আমার ব্যক্তিগতভাবে আমি ভেবেছিলাম যে এখন যদি আমরা ইকোনমিক কিংবা সোশ্যাল ডেভেলপমেন্ট নিয়ে যদি আরও কিংবা ডেমোক্রেসি গুড গভর্নেন্স নিয়ে কথা বলতে পারতাম তাহলে আমাদের মধ্যে ইউনিটি আরও বেশি থাকতো। কিন্তু কালচার ওয়ারে একবার ঢুকে গেলে সেটা খুবই ডিভাইসিভ হয়ে যায়, এবং আমরা দেখেছি যে অলরেডি একটা মানে আমেরিকার মতন দেশও কালচার ওয়ারে ঢুকে গিয়ে কি অবস্থা হয়ে গেছে। কিন্তু যাই হোক, যারা অ্যাক্টার্স যারা তারা এটা ঠিক করেছে যে এটাকেই প্রায়োরিটি দিয়ে দেবে যে, এবং অতএব যখন এই কনভারসেশনটা সামনে এসেই গেছে কালচার ওয়ারটা, এখন আমি বলবো যে মেয়েদেরকে এটাতে এঙ্গেজড হতেই হবে। কারণ এখন যদি এই কালচার ওয়ারের মধ্যে মেয়েরা যদি এঙ্গেজ না হয় তাহলে দারুণভাবে একটা ব্যাকল্যাশে পড়ে যাওয়ার একটা সম্ভাবনা সত্যি আছে। দ্বিতীয় যে জিনিসটা আমি বলবো যে যদিও আমি হোপফুল যে আমাদের ট্রানজিশন নিয়ে আমাদের মানে এই হোপটা রাখতেই হবে, কিন্তু এটা খুবই আনসার্টেন যে আমাদের সামনের পথটা যে খুব স্মুথ হবে তা নয়, শান্তিপূর্ণ হবে তাও নয়, এবং আমার যথেষ্ট সংঘাত হওয়ার, কনফ্লিক্ট হওয়ার, ভায়োলেন্স হওয়ার আসলে খুবই একটা সম্ভাবনা আছে। এবং যেহেতু সেই আশঙ্কাটা আছে এবং সেইখানে তখন নারীদের অবস্থা আরও বেশি নাজুক হয়ে পড়বে, এবং আমি বলবো যে আমাদেরকে এটার জন্য অত্যন্ত আগের থেকেই স্ট্র্যাটেজি এবং আগের থেকেই প্রিপেয়ার্ড হয়ে থাকতে হবে। অনেক ধন্যবাদ।
Sure.
অনেকগুলো পয়েন্ট এসছে। আমি একটা মানে রেসপেক্টফুলি ডিসএগ্রি করি যে এখানে কয়েকজন বলেছেন যে নারীদের পলিটিক্সে পার্টিসিপেশনের আগে পলিটিক্যাল সিস্টেম চেঞ্জ করতে হবে। এই বছরে একটা দিনই যেখানে নারীরা পুরুষদেরকে আউটনাম্বার করে উইমেন্স ডেতে, আমি মনে করি ইট শুড বি আদার ওয়ে রাউন্ড। যখন আমি প্রত্যেকটা মিটিংয়ে দেখবো যে নারীরা পুরুষদের সে সংখ্যায় বেশি, তারা আউটনাম্বার করেছে, তখনই আস্তে আস্তে জিনিসটা চেঞ্জ হবে। আমি সিস্টেমের ভিতরে আছি দেখে আমি জানি, আমি নিজের ব্যক্তিগত এক্সপিরিয়েন্স থেকে বলছি। সো নারীদেরকে আসতে হবে, এসেই সিস্টেম চেঞ্জ করতে হবে। আরেকটা কথা হচ্ছে এডুকেশন। আমি 100% এগ্রি করি যে এডুকেশন ইজ দ্য কি, বাট শুধু এডুকেশনে হবে না। এই যে স্টুডেন্টরা যারা কথা বললেন, আমার বোনরা যারা পলিটিক্সে আসতে চায় না, আই উড লাইক টু সে দ্যাট এডুকেশন, এরা তো সবাই এডুকেশনের মধ্যেই আছে, দে আর স্টুডেন্টস। they are educated. But আমার বহু প্রাইভেট ইউনিভার্সিটির মেয়েরা আমাদের সাথে এসে কথা বলে এই জুলাই আপরাইজিং এর পরে যে আমাদের ভয়েস এখন হার্ড হচ্ছে না, আমরা এখন পাচ্ছি না। এই যে তিনজন আমাদের ছাত্ররা অ্যাডভাইজার হলেন, তাদের ত্যাগের কারণে তারা ওখানে ফোরফ্রন্টে ছিলেন, ওখানে কি তিনজনের মধ্যে একজন মেয়ে থাকতে পারতো না? তো সেটা তো এডুকেশনের ব্যাপার না, এটা মাইন্ডসেটের ব্যাপার। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you. We have one more person from the Norwegian Embassy. Kashish? Oh. Of course.
যে কোনো অস্থিতিশীল সিচুয়েশনে সবার আগে মেয়েদের উপরে, নারীদের উপর প্রভাব পড়ে। সেটা ক্লাইমেট চেঞ্জ বলেন, আর পলিটিক্যাল আপস অ্যান্ড ডাউন বলেন, আর অথবা এই ধরনের কোনো পরিস্থিতি যেখানে একটা গভর্নমেন্ট ফল হলো, একটা বিশাল আন্দোলনের পর, এবং এরপরে ইন্টার গভর্নমেন্ট এসেছে, এই যে মাঝের সময় খুবই অস্থিতিশীল একটা সেখানে মবের মতো ঘটনা ঘটছে, নারীদের প্রতি সহিংসতা বেড়েছে, রেপ বেড়েছে, এবং এটা সারা বিশ্বে জুড়েই এরকম অস্থিতিশীল অবস্থায় প্রভাব পড়ে মেয়েদের উপর। এবং এইটা এই ধরনের এমনিতেই আমাদের দেশে এবং এই ধরনের কান্ট্রিগুলোতে জেন্ডার বেস ভায়োলেন্স বেড়েই চলেছে। যদি এটা না কমে তাহলে মেয়েদের এম্পাওয়ারমেন্ট, আসলে সুরক্ষা যদি না আসে তাহলে মেয়েরা এগিয়েও আসবে না, আর মেয়েরা এম্পাওয়ার হবে না। দ্যাটস ইট।
Thank you, Antarapa. We're just going to close up with yes, of course.
I'm going to try to keep it short, but I still have some words to say. And first of all, it's an honor to be here and to have this discussion on a very important topic. As someone from a country that's seen as a model for gender equality, I do want to share some reflections from a Norwegian point of view. Not necessarily because I think Norway has all the answers, but more because the value of sharing the experiences, you know, across borders, across cultures. So as our ambassador said, nearly 50% of the seats at the parliament in Norway is held by women. And those women are freely elected, but that's not necessary because the political culture in Norway, it's naturally more open to women, but it has been a deep and intentional shift in the societal attitudes. And these have happened over decades. It takes time. But I do believe that courage has played a big role in this change. And the Norwegian women, they have demanded a seat at the table. They have translated the courage into structural changes and also cultural changes. But I don't really believe that the Norwegian approach is a one-size-fits-all approach. You know, every country has its own values, has its own culture, religion, social norms, history. So what we have to do is to find a locally grounded path to gender equality that represents the reality of Bangladesh. And also, I do think that a quota system and women participation in politics is a step forward. But also, if you want to have a long-term change, you also have to focus on mindset. You know, and I think you have to combine those two. You have to combine structural reforms and also cultural change. Because let's say we have more women in politics, we have better representation, but do they actually have the power, and do they actually have a voice there? Are they respected as women in politics? So I think that's the biggest issue. Are they just there to be a symbol of diversity, or are they there because we respect them and we want to listen to them? So again, I do believe that courage is key, even if it's in Norway or in Bangladesh. And we all know that Bangladeshi women do not really lack courage. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of strength. We have seen that last year. And now we need to translate that courage into political action. We have to use the inner voice actually in practice, and then we'll get a change, hopefully. And we do have a long way to go, either if it's in Norway or if it's in Bangladesh. Norway has its own struggles with gender equality, mainly with income equality or sexual violence. So what we can unite on is the fact that we want a more equal future for both countries. And yeah, even if it's political participation in Bangladesh, and or if it's gender violence or income inequality in Norway. Yeah, so we have to work together. So my main just to summarize a bit, I think the first thing we need to do, from a Norwegian perspective and from a student perspective, is to change the attitudes from the ground up, and also, of course, bottom down. We have to combine it, and also we have to adapt strategies from local realities, and that we can do. We already have talked a lot about it, media, education, all of this. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mariana, would you like to close us out?
Sure. I mean, I feel like Kashish kind of closed it out very nicely, but I can say thank you to everyone who's here today. Really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your perspectives. And I think, as many have mentioned, Bangladeshi women, and as Kashish also mentioned, have proven the strength and resilience that's needed to make change. And I think we all kind of agree that Roundtable won't on its own solve the issue, but I think what I have had the opportunity to do today to learn and to listen is really an important part of the journey that we have to take. And I think if everybody took away something, learned something new, had a new impulse or a new perspective, then it's time well spent for everybody. I think I was going to say more, but I think what I want to end with is just saying that let us then have this not just be a conversation that we have around this table. Let this be a call to action. Take something that you learned or a thought that you had here today and bring it into the world. Let's not just talk about women's rights and equality on the 8th of March. Let's talk about it all year. And inspire us. Let's have this discussion inspire us to take that, to do that. Yeah, so thanks everyone who contributed, and I hope to see all of you in discussions like this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming and being so patient. I know we went over time a little bit, so we don't have a formal question-answer session, but if you're sticking around, please talk to the people that you want to ask questions, and let's continue the discussion, but informally, so we're not sitting down anymore. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. I believe that we had a very insightful session today where we learned about different obstacles and the current scenario. And the bottom line of the whole discussion is that basically alongside with discussions, we really need implementation for a better and secure future of the whole country. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the participants who has been here to share their valuable insights. I would like to request everyone to keep their transmission devices and there are snacks where you can just enjoy and network. Thank you very much. Take care.